Chapter 5. Compared to the situation that Xiao Bei and the others encountered, the weather in the capital was much better. Only yesterday afternoon, there had been 3 hours of light snow, the kind that melted as soon as it landed on the ground. Today's court meeting was originally planned to be held in the political announcement hall. The Hanyuan Hall was too big, and there was no shelter when the wind blew. However, the political announcement hall was building a geothermal system. Yes, geothermal. To be precise, it was building pipes and adding a layer of floor tiles on top. The cost was huge, and Li Longji paid for it himself. The construction progress was estimated to take at least a month. Building pipes, laying floor tiles, and waterproofing. If the results were good, the next step would be to dig trenches in the capital in the spring, lay gas pipes, electric cables, heating pipes, and expand the water distribution system. As for the optical cable, well, that was a beautiful dream. Li Longji didn't want to be extravagant again. Ever since he renovated the palace, he had become more simple. In the past, when he had no money, he always wanted to make his life more comfortable. He fought with the other officials for the surplus revenue, including how to use the internal funds. When he found that he had endless money, Li Longji didn't want to tear down and rebuild a palace, and then tear it down again. His meals were simple, and there were only 3 or 4 dishes. Occasionally, he would make vegan dumplings. The sudden spending of money was because the recent domestic economy made him worried. He had to prepare in advance. As for the specific solution, it was better to discuss it in the court. Thus, today's meeting was still held in the Hanyuan Hall. There was heating here, a heater installed a few years ago. When the time came, the officials lined up with empty stomachs. No one secretly brought food, and they waited for the court to end to eat the food provided by the palace. Everyone found their own place and stood. Li Longji looked at the morning scenery as he strolled over. The carriage swayed a lot. According to him, it was dizziness. The officials were surprised at first, but then they expressed that regardless of whether others believed it or not, they believed it. They came in the first batch of gasoline-powered carriages in the Great Tang. The shock absorption was much better than palanquins and carriages. It was also faster, and the vibration of the diesel engine was not light. Li Longji sat down first. Gao Lishe placed the microphone and tested it. Hey, hey. The quality of the sound was good, so he retreated to the side. Everyone, please sit. Li Longji raised his hand. Thank you, Your Majesty. Everyone turned around and sat down behind the table. They took out their notebooks and pens and prepared to record the contents of the meeting. Li Longji also took out a book and flipped it open. His gaze landed on Minister of Revenue Wang Bei's face and said, "Today, we'll talk about the domestic economy first, Minister Wang." Wang Bei moved the microphone in front of him, pondered for a moment, and said, "The data collected last month shows that the prices in most areas of the country have dropped significantly recently. The price of a well-woven third-class silk was 140 copper coins per piece in the middle of June, but it dropped to 132 copper coins last month. The average price of a pig in Hunan province in June was 6.5 copper coins per catty, but it dropped to 5.8 copper coins last month. The average price of bamboo in June was 915 copper coins per square meter, but it was 876 copper coins last month, and so on." Wang He paused for a moment. The officials were all silent and had different expressions. He continued, "Other than table salt, the prices of other goods have decreased. That is to say, we can buy more things with less money. The lives of the people are better now. Ha ha." He laughed, but the others didn't because it wasn't a joke. For a moment, the imperial court fell silent. After half a minute, Li Longji said, "That's the situation, that's the situation. All of you know that the development of the economy has always been to control the rate of inflation, which is the rate at which the currency depreciates. Now, there's no need to worry about this. The currency has appreciated. Are you all happy? We are truly too amazing. The people are able to buy things at a cheap price." No one was happy. If it was 30 years ago, perhaps some people would foolishly think that this was a good thing. Counting back, there had never been a dynasty that had achieved such results. However, The officials now had learned a lot of political and economic knowledge. Whether the increase in the consumer price index was positive or negative, it would inevitably reflect the correctness of the country's macro and microeconomic regulation. It was especially important to see whether the goal and result were the same. The ability to buy a unit of currency was equally important, whether it was a large amount or a small amount. The officials weren't looking forward to the current negative inflation. This wasn't in line with the current economic development. The savings and lending rates of the Great Tang Bank weren't negative. Then where did the problem lie? Was the Great Tang currency too little? Was the interest rate of the national debt too high? Was the consumption concept of the people changing? Or was the supply really exceeding the demand? Yuan Qianyao coughed, reminding everyone that he had something to say. He held a microphone and said, "I think that the investment in technology has increased the production of the original basic materials, thus reducing the cost of processing and sales. However, the cost of labor didn't change. That's why there are such figures." "I don't think so." Yuan Rong replied impolitely, "I think that the investment in technology has always been right, especially in the aspect of grain, oil, plants, and livestock. In the past, the consumption of grain was huge, but now, the consumption is small. It can't be said that the population of the Great Tang has decreased. It's just that people have more choices when they need nutrients. The cost of processing isn't low, but there's also the cost of labor. The more advanced the technology, the higher the cost of labor. Correspondingly, the cost of sales hasn't decreased. There's definitely advertising in sales, and the cost has always been on the rise. This can be seen from the profits of various newspapers. Then, what's the reason why the figures for the past 2 months don't match our expectations? It still needs to be researched." "Your Majesty, I've finished." Yuan Qianyao stared angrily and cursed in his heart. "What did you say? You've analyzed so much, and you still need to be researched?" Everyone wanted to know the reason and the solution. Yuan Rong avoided his gaze and said embarrassedly, "Prime Minister Yuan, don't look at me like that. I'll be shy." "Ha ha ha." Li Longji laughed. The other officials also couldn't help but laugh. Even the usually serious Zhang Zhong's lips curled up. Everyone was very happy, and no one was worried about the data. The so-called worry was that they couldn't think of a solution. However, they didn't panic. This was because there were 2 people who were qualified to attend court but couldn't because of Zhang Zhong's existence. They were taking care of their children in the capital. If they really couldn't think of a solution, they could only trouble the couple. The problem was very serious. The worry was caused by themselves, but they weren't at the end of the road yet. They believed that if those 2 people spoke up, everything would return to normal. "Don't be like this, okay? She's clearly still young and is probably sleeping. Do I have to call her parents over? Be careful that she doesn't run to your house to cry." Li Longji held back his laughter. The people below laughed again. Morning court was a very happy thing. As long as it wasn't a disaster that killed people, everyone came to court with a happy mood. In any case, if the problem could be solved, they would solve it directly. If they couldn't, they would push it to Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. Then they would learn from them. Who asked the 2 of them to always be so calm no matter what situation they faced? It was as if any problem wasn't a problem to them. "Yongqing, you say something. Don't tell me that you don't visit your grandson on a daily basis. Don't tell me that you only visit your grandson and don't ask any questions." Li Longji looked at Zhang Zhong and said. Zhang Zhong had always abided by the etiquette between a ruler and a subject. When he heard the voice, he immediately stood up and replied respectfully, "Yes, I'll say it." Regarding the domestic economy, let's talk about Ming Ming first. Li Longji interrupted Zhang Zhong. Zhang Zhong's serious expression immediately turned into one of happiness. He changed from the cold and strict face of the Minister of Works to the face of a kind grandfather. He looked at Li Longji gratefully and replied, "The little guy can already sit up. Occasionally, he can even crawl a few steps. He rarely cries. Even if he cries, it's for a short period of time. Usually, it's because he pees or is hungry. Every day, He cries for less than a quarter of an hour. He likes to laugh and laughs at everyone he sees. When he catches a toy, he can play with it for a long time. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo have also turned into children. A small ball can actually play with Ming Ming for an hour and even crawl everywhere with him. There's no bed in the house anymore. The floor and the carpet are all crawling. Last night, I also crawled over to talk to Ming Ming. My legs hurt. Ha 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 ha. Li Longji laughed again. He was very happy. Jiang Tsen immediately took the opportunity to speak. Yongqing, my little granddaughter is 4 months older than Ming Ming. She can crawl better. Why don't we send her over to play? My granddaughter is virtuous and polite, dignified and generous, graceful and charming. When she grows up, she'll definitely have a daughter. What do you think? Cough cough. Official Jiang, there's no need to talk about family matters in court. Li Longji interrupted Jiang Tsen's words and told him not to talk about family matters. Everyone was in court. He said, although Pander is a little older, her age shouldn't be determined by age. Her age shouldn't be determined by... Your Majesty, regarding the recent increase in the value of the currency, I have something to say. At this moment, the person who appeared was actually Li Linfu. After he finished speaking, he immediately looked at Zhang Zhong and said, Brother Yongqing, you and I have known each other for almost 10 years. After spring and autumn, we've seen winter come. The snow is as white as a rabbit. It's said that a white rabbit walks to the east and looks to the west. Clothes are not as good as new. People are not as good as old. Brother Yongqing, we know each other. My little girl. Minister Zhang, let's talk about economic matters first. Wang Bei interrupted with a cold face. He shook the book in his hand and said to Zhang Zhong, after work, I hope you can bring your family to my residence for a chat. We can discuss financial matters and other matters. State matters are important. While the officials and Li Longji were inwardly cursing Wang Bei for being shameless, Zhang Zhong finally had time to speak. Let me think. Just now, everything was in a mess. I actually forgot what I wanted to say. Zhang Zhong was speechless. How old was his grandson? Unexpectedly, others were fighting to reserve him. After thinking for a few seconds, Zhang Zhong finally found his train of thought. He said, the technology released by the Ministry of Works and the Agricultural Temple has always been basic industry technology. To put it bluntly, it is to increase agricultural production and initial processing technology. It directly affects the people's livelihood. As a result, grain production has increased, and the initial processing efficiency of the handicraft industry has increased. This year is the right time to show the results. The influence of the Ministry of Works and the Agricultural Temple has met, resulting in a seemingly temporary decrease in cost. I have already thought of this point. However, since it has decreased, the amount of trade must have increased. Why has the tax not increased? Li Longji asked. The tax has increased, but it has not entered the statistical period yet. It can only be seen at the end of the year. The tax has not increased because it is not reported. The local finance suppresses the tax for a few months, and the profits go to the local government. Therefore, the tax is simple. It is human nature. Zhang Zhong replied. What he meant was that there was only the tax and no one supervised it. People collected the money and waited to report it at the end of the year. This way, the money could be used for other things for a few months, and the profits would become the local government's additional income. When Zhang Zhong said this, he did not have any intention of attacking the local yamen. The yamen had more money, and it was additional income. It looked dangerous, but it was actually not a big problem. Many yamen would show this part of the money. The commoners could see and know that the yamen had an additional income. This money did not belong to the imperial court and could be used freely. Therefore, in the future, when the money was spent, the commoners would be involved. As for hiding it from the commoners and then embezzling it, Zhang Zhong did not believe it. If they did that, the cost and benefits would not be proportional. It would not be as much as the rewards after the official finished his term. Furthermore, once he was found out, he would lose everything, including his life. Li Longji nodded. He was very satisfied with the current governance. The investigation was strict, and the reporting system had been perfected. The cost of malfeasance was too high, and the officials were not willing to take the risk. However, he still had a question: since that is the case, why don't the merchants hoard the goods at a low price and artificially inflate the price? They don't dare. Zhang Zhong proudly said these 4 words. The officials understood. They knew that Zhang Zhong was speaking the truth. The price could rise and fall, but hoarding and harming the market would definitely result in bankruptcy. It was fine if it was small, but once it reached a large scale, Zhang Xiaobao would definitely take action. However, if it did not reach a large scale, how would they make money? It did not matter if it was a bottom line or a red line, whoever crossed it would die. You should earn the money you should earn, but you could not go overboard. Of course, luxury goods were an exception. If you sold luxury goods at a sky-high price, Zhang Xiaobao would also pretend not to see it. Li Longji replied. Zhang Zhong continued, from my perspective, I can only continue to release a part of the technology and precision processing technology to allow the basic products to form more grades and thus raise the price of some of them. The rest is the responsibility of the Cultural, Sports and Education Department. The Cultural, Sports and Education Department was separated from the 6 departments. It overlapped with the functions of the Ministry of Rights. It was influenced but not under its jurisdiction. Its functions were naturally culture, sports, and education. It was independent but also related to other departments. The Ministry of Rights was the most important in educating the people. The officials were also managed by the Ministry of Personnel. The construction site was controlled by the Ministry of Works. If there were economic and administrative problems, the Supreme Court and the Censorate would still intervene. If there was a large-scale sports competition, they would need to coordinate with the Ministry of War. When money passed through their hands, they would inevitably have to go through the Ministry of Revenue. The Cultural, Sports and Education Department was managed by Zhang Jiuling. He had already changed departments many times. In the end, he volunteered to come here. He had a part-time job in the Secretariat. Otherwise, without a central department, his power would be relatively small. When he heard Zhang Zhong mention him, he picked up a pen and said, Minister Zhang, please advise me. I don't dare to advise you. Frankly speaking, the fall in the price of products is caused by the mass use of raw materials. The consumption of the people is too purposeful. They only buy things that they normally use. We can't say that we don't allow the people to use technology to mass produce. In fact, as long as we don't do anything, after half a year or so, the price of goods will naturally rise. The market will adjust itself. The price of basic goods will be low, and the unit labor cost of other reprocessing industries will not change. This will cause people in the planting, breeding, and textile industries to work very hard, but their income will be the same as before, or even drop, while the income of other industries will increase. Once the former lose enthusiasm, there will be at least 3 situations. Zhang Zhong flipped through the book. It was densely filled with small characters. He had learned it from his son and daughter-in-law in his daily life. In the past, he had thought that if he worked hard, he would one day learn all of his son's knowledge. In the end, the more he learned, the more complicated it became. There were set after set of formulas and book after book of theories. Even so, his son and daughter-in-law always said that their knowledge was too shallow and that there were many things they didn't understand. Zhang Zhong could only sigh at the depth of their ability and their modesty. Right now, the book had recorded the situations that would occur. He paused, and someone quickly asked, "What are the 3 situations?" First, the smarter people will immediately change. They will plant other crops, breed other livestock, or move toward precision processing. Second, the people don't know what else to do. They have been planted before, and they are already used to it. Even though it doesn't make money, they still persevere. Third, the family needs money, but they don't have it. The more they plant and breed, the more they lose. In a panic, they commit suicide. So, Zhang Zhong stopped here. Li Longji said, so we can't let the price of goods rise naturally. The law of the free market can adjust the economy, but it can't save lives. We can't just look at the data to deal with the problem. Otherwise, what's the use of having you and me? What should I do? Zhang Jiuling was still taking notes. In the name of the court, increase the number and content of winter sports competitions, increase the prize money, and increase the number of winners, Zhang Zhong said. He continued, Xiao Bao has already made preparations to reduce the interest rate on savings. I ask your majesty and everyone to pass this resolution. The good people will interfere with the purchasing power of money. The Ministry of Works and the Agriculture Temple will release a portion of the precision processing technology for free. At the same time, the bank will provide an interest-free 3-year loan related to the technology. The interest rate of the bank's reserves will remain unchanged for the time being. This will control the annexation of the merchants and prevent them from using this opportunity to expand their private industry. The officials, including Li Longji, were all writing and drawing with their heads lowered. They were calculating whether the implementation of the various measures was in line with their expectations. After a while, everyone stopped writing. Anything else? Li Longji asked. Yes, write articles in various newspapers and magazines. Write stories about the value of life, and even make up stories. Let the people cherish their current lives and don't commit suicide. Especially write about the benefits that appear in the Tang Empire. Compare it with the past and paint a better future. You persevered through so much hardship in the past. Now, you die for a little money. Isn't it not worth it? With the benefits of the imperial court, even if you don't have money, you can still eat, raise your child, and treat your illness. As Zhang Zhong spoke, he began to reminisce about the years before he had his son, Xiao Bao. It was really tough. Even the clan head didn't have it easy, much less the farmers. Then, with his son, Xiao Bao, everything began to change. Not only did his family change, but the world of the Tang Empire also changed. Many officials, including Li Longji, began to reminisce when they heard about the benefits. Some of them smiled as they reminisced. There was a trace of confidence, a trace of pride, and a trace of accomplishment. They even thought, Li Gui, Wu Qi, Xiangyang, Guanzhong, Sang Hongyang, you were powerful back then. If you have the ability, why don't you try it in the Tang Empire now? Your political and economic methods are simply too weak. Do you know what the production relationship between the private economy and the public economy is? Do you understand the interaction between monetary control and the GNP? Do you know what the final function of the industrial system is? I know, and it's a very simple question. I even know how the international currency exchange process works. What is the point of subduing the enemy without fighting? I can make the people I bully continue to beg me to bully them. But even so, I still have to be careful, treading on thin ice, not daring to make any mistakes. Because in the current Tang Empire, I understand that my ability is not enough to control the current economic situation of the Great Tang. It's too complicated. I can't just rely on the data to govern. I have to understand the psychology of the people of every class. What I'm considering now isn't whether the national treasury has enough money, but how to properly spend this money and raise the living standards of the people. People like you think that earning money for the national treasury is very impressive, but in my view, it's truly lamentable. Is it difficult to fill the national treasury with money? It's not difficult. If I don't consider the actual situation of the people, I can fill the national treasury. But this isn't my goal. I can't be that selfish. To me, what's difficult is to let the people of the Great Tang feel the warmth of winter, to let the elderly enjoy the rest of their lives, and to let the children smile. What politician, what economist, what strategist, what writer, all of them can stand aside. With me here, do you have the right to speak? But even so, I'm just one of the many people standing in the court. What I know are the basic qualities that all the officials present in Hanyuan Palace must have. I'm just that ordinary, but I'm also proud. I'm proud of the Great Tang Empire. If you were still here, the Great Tang Empire could wipe out all of your countries in a year, just because I, who is stronger than you, am so ordinary in the Great Tang Empire. What's it called again? Oh, foundation. The officials all had their own thoughts. Li Longji also went through some bitter memories and then looked at the officials below and said, "Everyone, you still have to work hard." "Yongqing, is there anything else?" Zhang Zhong nodded. "There is, but it's not about this matter. It's about next spring. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo plan on a large-scale construction project, estimated to cost 100 million strings of coins." "How much?" Li Longji, who had always been calm, couldn't help but cry out in surprise. The others' expressions changed again and again. 100 million strings of coins. 100 billion wen. "My family will pay 10 million strings of coins, Your Majesty will pay 10 million strings of coins, the National Treasury will pay 20 million strings of coins, the Great Tang Bank will pay 10 million strings of coins, and the remaining 50 million strings of coins will be raised by Xiao Bao and Cuckoo, but not by my family. My family can't take out so much cash. Oh, Xiao Bei and the others may pay 1 million strings of coins, but that's not included. They can pay as much as they want. There's also the group set up by our officials. The recent financial data has been good, and everyone will receive dividends during the new year. Let's set aside the 1 million strings of coins first." Zhang Zhong calmly listed out the items, all in units of 10,000 strings of coins. Wang Bei's expression was not very good. He couldn't help but cough twice and say, "Brother Yongqing, as an individual, I don't object to the group paying 1 million strings of coins. But why didn't my Ministry of Revenue receive any news of such a large amount of money?" "Because the news was only released today," Zhang Zhong said calmly. "Your Majesty." Wang Bei pretended to be indignant. Li Longji frowned. A pencil was twirling in his hand. Before it fell to the ground, it suddenly paused. He said, "Minister Zhang, I want to talk to you." Wang Bei was happy, and the corners of his mouth curled up. "I know you always think that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo are very capable, but no matter how capable they are, raising 50 million strings of coins is difficult. Next year's budget for healthcare, education, retirement, employment, and other welfare departments should be made first. If the National Treasury still has a surplus, it can increase the investment. In addition, I see all the civil and military officials in the court. In the past, their benefits and salaries were generous, and their family property was not lacking. If there is a surplus in the group's accounts, why not use it for the people and the country? Money will depreciate if left there. Money that doesn't depreciate, as discussed today, is worrying." Li Longji said with a heavy heart. Thus, countless angry gazes converged on Wang Bei. Wang Bei realized that it was really cold. He didn't know if the humidifying and warming fans that Zhang Zhong and Wang Bei had promised would be sent back to his house after the court. "Your Majesty, I impeach Zhang Zhong for not discussing with the head of the Secretariat about important matters concerning the country." Yu Wenrong's voice sounded. "I second the motion." Su Yi, the Minister of Rights, spoke in agreement. Yuan Qianyao followed. "I think so too. I second the motion." Another group of people impeached at the same time, including Xiao Song, the Minister of War. "I also impeach Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, the Jidushi of Bohai Commander-in-Chief's office, for staying in the capital for too long. I'm afraid they have other motives." An official from the censorate took advantage of this matter to point the spearhead elsewhere. "Oh. Then I want to know where you want them to go when you impeach them?" Li Longji asked. "I don't know. I only impeach them," the person replied. "Good, I already know," Li Longji praised. "I impeach Zhang Xiaobei, Wang Xiaoyuan, and the others for acting recklessly. I'm afraid they are heresy." Another official from the censorate was also unwilling to be left out. Seeing that others were impeaching them, he also spoke up. However, after he finished speaking, he realized that the situation seemed to be wrong. Why was the emperor unhappy? Previously, there was no problem with his colleagues impeaching Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Then, he looked at Yuan Qianyao and Yu Wenrong. The two of them were from the head of the Secretariat. Seeing the two of them giving him a look, he then realized that he had impeached the wrong person. Previously, when he impeached Zhang Zhong, Zhang Xiaobao, and Wang Wan, he knew that it was because everyone had a tacit understanding. Every time there was a court meeting, they would definitely find fault with their families. It was not to say that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were really wrong, but it was a form of protection. It was not good for an official to not have any colleagues opposing him. Therefore, everyone would find fault with him. He reckoned that this time, he had chosen the wrong person in his excitement. The emperor could impeach him, and the things that should be sent would be sent to his family. Impeaching Xiao Bei was a little too much. As this person thought about it, he became very anxious and sweated profusely. Gao Lishe could not help but remind him, "You said that Xiao Bei and the others are running around everywhere. What's wrong with such young children?" "Ah yes, what they are doing is wrong. Your Majesty, everyone, think about it. Xiao Bei and the others are so young, and they are running around all day long. How worrying is that? Don't they think about what will happen if they are tired? What will happen if they are cold? They are really too reckless." This person was quick-witted in his hurry. "Then how did they become heresy?" Li Longji asked. "Of course. Your Majesty, think about it. Shouldn't we be worried when they are outside? Once we are worried, we can't do good things. If we don't do good things and make the people suspicious, what is it if not heresy?" After speaking, this person let out a long sigh. In just a short while, sweat had already soaked through his clothes. Li Longji nodded. "Yes. That makes sense. You have worked hard." "It is my duty." This person hurriedly responded. There was a 10-second period of silence in the imperial court. Just as Li Longji was about to call out names and ask about politics, Jiang Tsen of the Xinong Temple saw that no one was speaking. He opened his book and said loudly, "Your Majesty, according to the temple statistics, our country's tomatoes, chili, potatoes, sweet potatoes and other foreign crops have reached the number of crops that can be planted throughout the country. I suggest that we should give an administrative order to Your Majesty, urgent news from Yin Province, urgent news from Yin Province." Without waiting for Jiang Tsen to finish speaking, a loud shout came from the entrance of Hunyuan Palace. Luo Bin rode a wide-wheel mountain bike and appeared like the wind. The officials were not paying attention to the bike, but to what Luo Bin had shouted. What happened to Yin Province? A few seconds later, Luo Bin stopped and threw the bike to the side. He came to the table of the officials at the bottom and drank 2 mouthfuls of water. Then, he snatched the microphone and said, "Your Majesty, Yin Province has reported that heavy snow has covered the sky and covered the earth. It has accumulated to the waist in half a day and has not stopped for the entire night. In the villages far away, Hu, there are more than 1,500 people who have been blessed." Li Longji felt his heart beat faster and he felt weak all over. The officials also had solemn expressions. In the past, when the great Tang's technology was not advanced and there were no medical or education benefits, the lives of 1,500 people would not matter to them. Which day did people not die? Which year did people not die in disasters? Not to mention 1,500 people, even if 15,000 people died, they would still be fine. When they fled for their lives, hundreds of thousands of people lost their homes. Countless people died on the road. They were already used to it. However, it was different now. There was no drought now, and hundreds of thousands of people did not have food to eat. It was even more impossible for people to trade their children for food. As long as people were still alive, other problems were not a problem. But suddenly, there was a place where 1,500 people lived, and the snow was up to their waists in half a day. It had been snowing for an entire day and night, and it still had not stopped. That person... bastard! Li Longji slammed the table and stood up, glaring at him angrily. Luo Bin hurriedly took 2 deep breaths and said, "Your Majesty, please forgive me, please calm down." There were more than 1,500 people, and they were all trapped in the thick snow. However, the 10 patrol inspectors of the imperial court called last night and urgently dispatched troops to rescue them. "You..." Li Longji gritted his teeth and pointed at Luo Bin. "This lowly one deserves to die. I ran too fast. Your Majesty, please calm down." Luo Bin grabbed the microphone and knelt there, not daring to raise his head. Li Longji slowly sat down, thought for a moment, and said, What did Minister Jiang say about the administration of corn? Replying to your majesty, because the people in many places are used to planting a certain crop and are not familiar with a new crop, they do not accept it. I think that an administrative order should be issued to force the local people to plant corn. Jiang Tsun glanced at Luo Bin, pretended not to see him, and answered the emperor's question. Must an administrative order? I think that other methods can be used. For example, the newspapers can say that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo support the planting of corn. How about that? Li Longji expressed his own thoughts. Very good. Your Majesty, please inform the two of them. Jiang Tsun was waiting for these words. He couldn't go to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan to discuss and ask them to come forward. Li Longji nodded, and then suddenly said, Speaking of corn, I have specially built a cold storage for all of you this year. Before the harvest, I have stored a lot of corn ears. During the new year, each of you will be given a few hundred ears to bring home for your children to eat. Thank you, Your Majesty. The officials didn't need to rehearse, and tacitly said their thanks in unison. As for Luo Bin, no one cared about him for the time being. It was as if they had already forgotten about the news they had just received. This lowly one. Does this lowly one also have some? Luo Bin originally wanted to ask about the disaster areas, but the moment the words left his mouth, he changed his mind. No. Go ask Xiao Bao and Cuckoo for some. In the future, say everything in one breath and then leave. Li Longji angrily glared at Luo Bin and said. Luo Bin hurriedly said, Yes, this lowly one will take his leave. After he left, Li Longji pondered, looked at the sky, and said to the officials, This year's snow is not small. We must make the necessary preparations. Yes. The officials replied in unison. Regarding the matter of Kaguang County, no one mentioned it. Everyone was clear that Xiaobei's team was ranked in the Great Tang Army. Usually, the impression that the imperial guards and chamberlains of imperial insignia were ranked first, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's team was ranked second, and Xiaobei's team was ranked third. But the officials knew in their hearts that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's team was ranked first, and Xiaobei's team was ranked second. The members of Xiaobei's team needed to go to the borders of the Great Tang to kill enemies, and some even needed to follow the fleet to be considered qualified. Furthermore, everyone, including Li Longji, knew how advanced Xiaobei's team's technology was. The most advanced technology in the country would definitely be used by them first. This was a comprehensive team, and there was no lack of talents in all aspects. If Xiaobei and the others were willing, they could find a place to establish a country. The infrastructure, education, medical, military, finance, foreign affairs, research, and other departments would be able to support them immediately. With such a strong team providing disaster relief, if they still couldn't do it, they wouldn't be able to think of a solution in the imperial court. Could it be that they really had to continue sending Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's team to protect the seedlings? Even if they were sent out, there wouldn't be enough time. Li Longji thought the same, but he couldn't help but think about Xiaobei and the others. Thus, the topic of the imperial court passed very quickly. No one continued with the impeachment, and they immediately settled the matter. Seeing that the morning court was about to disperse, Luo Bin suddenly ran back and shouted, reporting to the emperor, in the area under the Bohai Commander-in-Chief's office, Regional Commander Zhang Xiaobao and Deputy Regional Commander Wang Wan are outside the hall seeking an audience. When Li Longji heard this, his eyes widened, and he couldn't help but think of what Xiaobei had said before. What are they trying to do? The officials were also stunned, and then they looked at Zhang Zhong. Zhang Zhong's eyes were filled with confusion. While Zhang Zhong was in a daze, Xiaobei and the others were in a daze. When they woke up early in the morning, the surrounding snow was piled high. From time to time, there would be people pushing snow into the distance. The snow that fell naturally was already above Xiaobei and the others' heads. The snow that was blown by the wind had piled up to more than 3 meters high. There were always people in charge of clearing the snow in the camp. After piling it up into a small pile, they would use a makeshift sleigh to move it far away. They didn't dare to pile it up near the camp, for fear that the wind would blow and bury the tent. What made Xiaobei and the others confused was not how heavy the snow was, but what they were going to do when the children, who were supposed to rest until noon, were woken up by the adults in Kagwang County. Many of the children were as confused as Xiaobei and the others when they opened their eyes. After thinking for a while, they realized that they were in the camp and not at home. From the children's rosy complexions, one could tell that they had slept very well last night. From the way they rubbed their eyes, one could tell that they hadn't slept enough. Under the watchful eyes of Xiaobei and the others, the adults in the county began to take out the 2 memorial tablets and found a high place to place them steadily. Then, they lit incense and led the children to kneel down, saying all sorts of praises. After about 2 minutes, Sun Mao took the lead and shouted loudly, "Ancestors and ancestors, I have a will in the underworld. To the heavens and to the earth, I pray for justice. Today, the people of Tang must not die in vain. Xiao Bao, Cuckoo, will live forever and be safe." The other county citizens who could speak also shouted in unison, "My heart, I wish to carry out the will of the heavens. Xiao Bao, Cuckoo, will live forever." Some of the children who couldn't speak also started to babble. Xiaobei and the others were so confused. They felt a kind of solemnity, and a kind of piety from the people in the county. Except for the children who didn't know anything, no one acted casually. Even the children were shouting words that only they knew the meaning of, and they didn't cry or make a fuss. Su Ilong and Wei Wei opened their mouths. Today, they finally felt the power of Zhong Xiaobao and Wang Wan in the Tang Empire. It was more direct than when the whole Tang Empire came to congratulate them on their marriage. What time was it? When the people fled from the disaster, they didn't forget to bring the memorial tablets of longevity with them. The first thing they did when they woke up in the morning was to burn incense. No wonder the aristocratic families and big clans, including their own family, all bowed their heads after knowing that they had been schemed against by Zhong Xiaobao. The land that the family had saved before was gone, so they endured. In the past, only the family members could learn knowledge, and ordinary people rarely had the opportunity to go to school. But now they endured. After some exchanges, they found that the conditions of the carriage and other conditions were no longer monopolized. Sure enough, they were all smart people. So what if they couldn't endure? Whoever made a sound would die. The Xiao Bao and Cuckoo that the people were talking about only needed to shout. Su Ilong shuddered and didn't dare to think about it anymore. When more than 1,500 people stood up, Xiaobei and the others came over. Xiaobei rubbed her hands nervously. Aya, let's eat. Let's eat breakfast. This morning, there are 2 rice porridge, soy milk, soup, and tofu pudding. There are also buns, fried dough sticks, pies, steamed buns, fried cakes, and many side dishes. There are dozens of kinds. Everyone, wash your hands and eat. Xiaobei originally wanted to be modest and say something. After thinking about it, she realized that they were not giving her the memorial tablets of longevity. She couldn't say anything, so she could only introduce the breakfast. Xiao Yuan and the others stood at the side with an indescribable expression on their faces. Just like the people of Kagwang County who felt peace and warmth in their hearts when they saw the protection team during the heavy snow, they also felt warm in their hearts when they saw the people in the county praying for their brothers and sisters early in the morning. After the people of Kagwang County finished doing what they needed to do every morning, they began to enjoy the breakfast provided by the protection team with peace of mind. They had never regarded the protection team as outsiders, and it was impossible for them to pretend to be embarrassed. When they met Xiaobei and the others, they had to try their food. The women who were nursing their children and pregnant women also made their own requests. For example, they wanted some fruits after the main meal. If there were no fresh fruits, they would eat canned fruits so that the children's nutrition could keep up. They didn't think that they were overboard, nor did they think that such requests were unreasonable. The Tang Dynasty belonged to everyone, and the children belonged to the Tang Dynasty. When the children grew up healthy, they would be able to contribute to the Tang Dynasty. Xiaobei, do you know? I slept very peacefully last night. It's been 2 months, and I have nightmares every night. It's useless to put the scissors under the pillow. I was fine yesterday. During the meal, a 6-year-old girl was holding a big bun and talking to Xiaobei with a happy smile on her face. Xiaobei was holding a bowl of egg cream, also known as water egg, and feeding it to a 2-year-old boy. He blew on it twice, tasted the temperature, and then stuffed it into the boy's mouth. There was no other way. Ever since the boy saw Xiaobei, he smiled and asked Xiaobei to carry him. He refused to leave Xiaobei while eating. Hearing the girl's words, Xiaobei temporarily stopped what he was doing and said, "Me too. I slept very well last night. It's all thanks to bringing you guys out. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to sleep well and would always be thinking about you. Oh, baby, don't eat salted vegetables. You'll be thirsty if you eat too much. You'll feel uncomfortable. Come and eat the braised food. It's salty in the braised food." Today's breakfast was indeed very sumptuous. It was just to show off to the people of Kogwang County, or to put it another way, he was afraid that the people of the county would be picky. The boy in Xiaobei's arms was very obedient. He ate whatever he was told to eat. He smiled after taking a bite. He smiled at everyone he saw. At this time, Sun Mao made some simple arrangements for the people of the county. He walked over with a steamed bun in one hand and a salted duck egg in the other. He said to Xiaobei and the others with a face full of gratitude, "The heavens have eyes. Don't, County Magistrate Sunday. We never believe in the heavens. We only believe that as long as the imperial court doesn't give up on the people won't betray the Tang Empire." Xiaobei quickly changed his expression and spoke in a profound tone. "Sister Xiaobei, why are you different from before?" a girl asked curiously. "Because your county magistrate is an official. Of course, he has to speak in the official language. I'm not wearing official robes. Otherwise, I would say that the imperial court hasn't forgotten you guys. The people in other parts of the Tang Empire still care about you guys. Although the snow is cold, people's hearts are warm. This is the victory of our unity. This is the victory of our people." Xiaobei's expression changed again. It was more solemn and amiable. The children of the county looked at Xiaobei in a daze. They couldn't understand why there was such a big difference when the same thing was said in a different way. The girl who asked the question earlier asked tentatively, "Sister Xiaobei, is there any other way to say it?" Xiaobei nodded. "Yes. For example, in the Tang Empire's official newspaper, the title should be, 'Strong Soldiers Pass Through the Border, Peace.' The wind and snow are heartless, but there are feelings. That's fun. Sister Xiaobei, you're right. With strong soldiers passing through the border, we're not afraid at all. Even if the snow is still falling and the clouds are still drifting. Still drifting? Drifting to where? Men." Xiaobei was stunned for a moment and quickly called for people. There are already people getting ready. It was difficult to judge the terrain last night. Just now, a group of 500 people is ready to set off to the next place that might be affected by the snow. A maid came forward and reported. Xiaobei blinked. Today, the snow is only falling in one place. Why are they going back and forth? Is it difficult to go and rescue them? It's difficult. It's like paddling west when facing the east. In other words, countercurrent? Xiaobei asked. The others agreed. Yes. Equip them with our most advanced equipment. This time, we'll call it countercurrent. Xiaobei raised his head and said. Chapter 6. Xiaobei and the rest sent people to continue the rescue. The most advanced equipment was 6 snowmobiles, 5 of which were chain cars and 1 of which was anti-skid tires. Both of them were field test subjects. One was to test the terrain, and the other was to test if there were any obstacles in starting the oil under low temperature. Of course, they also brought blowtorches. If it really did not work, they could heat it manually. The 500 protection team had rested well last night. This time, they were going to the He River in the northeast. There were less than 60 households at the intersection of the Yellow River and the Weifan River, with a population of slightly more than 300 people. This was the last populated area in the surrounding area. As for whether there were a few families who went there to build thatched huts, there were probably some, but there was no way to save them. There were no markings on the military and administrative maps. Where could they find people in such a snowy day? Therefore, Xiao Bei and the rest could only comfort themselves. They thought that when winter came, the minority or those who lived alone would go to places with more people to live. Otherwise, many of their living materials would be difficult to guarantee. If they really did not go down the mountain to live with others, they could only pray for their own good luck. It was impossible for them to pull more than 20,000 people to carry out a carpet search. Moreover, the person they were searching for was unknown. The 500 selected people set off just like that. They brought snowmobiles, sledges, oxygen tanks, as well as heating, heat preservation, and chilblains medicine and food. What they needed to do was not to stop the snow from falling, nor did they need to build houses for the locals. They just needed to bring them out. Xiao Bei and the rest believed that the locals would not freeze to death immediately. It was definitely not a problem for them to last for 2 days. The biggest danger was not from the snow, but self-abandonment. Losing contact with the outside world for a long time would torture people to the point of insanity. I hate this heavy snow more and more. Not only is it delaying our journey, but it also makes us worry. TSK. Do you think I will be afraid of snow? It's said that there's no way to defy the heavens when it comes to evil. You're absolutely right. Xiao Bei muttered, obviously trying to cheer himself up. He turned around and ordered, go back to the tents. Those who are going to class, go to class, and those who are going to play, play. The children of Kagwang County were very obedient. They split up according to their learning progress and were taught by the original workers. The younger children looked for toys to play with. There were also some who ran outside the tent to stand in the open space, motionless as they watched the snow fall. No one knew what they were thinking. The children's world was always so colorful and unpredictable. The members of the protection team began to set up new tents and prepare delicious food in advance. When the people of Hehe arrived, they would eat and rest immediately. Sister Xiao Bei, why don't you go out and help and tell them what to do? Aren't you the leader? A servant girl who had been talking to the rag doll for a few minutes suddenly remembered something and immediately asked Xiao Bei about it. Xiao Bei patted the girl's head and narrowed his eyes. He smiled and said, if I don't help them, I'll be doing them a huge favor. I don't know anything, so how can I help? Professional matters should be left to the professionals. Let's not add to the mess, okay? Big Brother once said, don't be afraid of a godlike opponent, but be afraid of a pig-like teammate. Really? The little girl thought that Xiao Bei's words were very interesting. With one hand on her waist and the other holding the rag doll, she tilted her head and asked. Xiao Bei nodded vigorously. It's true. Right now, the honest me will make them feel more at ease. Then I can only bring you guys along to play. Come, I'll teach you kids who aren't old enough to enter school to sing nursery rhymes. All the children who could speak and weren't old enough to enter school gathered together with Xiao Bei and the others. They earnestly learned and sang. This was another form of education. The nursery rhymes contained the basic numbers needed to enter school in the future, as well as the understanding of various words. Although there were no merchants in Kagwang County to sponsor the school was still built, and it was very good. The money was paid for by Xiao Bei and the others. Just like what they said, the current Tang Empire could no longer rely on merchants to let its children study well. It was no longer like in the beginning, when it relied on merchants to invest money. The merchants who first participated in the Morning Sun operation now not only received gratitude, they also received non-collateral, interest-free, long-term repayment, and large credit loans from the Great Tang Bank. This included the priority to sell new products, as well as investment and technical guidance. In other words, even if they were penniless, they could still make a comeback. The morning sun not only shone on the children, but also on the soul of a nation. Now that there was no need for merchants to bear the cost of education, there were more merchants who were willing to invest. The money they invested could be exchanged for a small portion of tax benefits. Of course, this benefit couldn't be compared to the amount of investment. In addition, there was also the credit limit of the Great Tang Bank. This couldn't be shown immediately. If one wanted to obtain more support from the bank, they would need a lot of credit points. Even so, there were more and more merchants who were willing to spend money on education. It could be said that it was a habit, or it could be said that it was an atmosphere. In short, there were fewer and fewer merchants who invested in the school, while there were more and more merchants who invested in the school. For example, if they went out for a stroll and found a school, they would stand at the door and look around. When they found the person in charge, they would throw 20 strings of coins, take the receipt, and continue to stroll. There were many such cases. They were casual and convenient, but it was difficult to supervise. Faced with such a situation, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan found Li Longji and very easily took out a set of supervision and management regulations. It included all aspects, and it was impossible to say that there were no loopholes. However, it was very difficult to find loopholes and use them to gain benefits. The amount of corruption could not exceed 50 strings of coins, because the overall amount fluctuated and the cycle was there. When this regulation was released, the officials of the imperial court were speechless. They originally thought that it would be very difficult, but in the end, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were so well prepared. It was as if they were the staple food on the table, and they could eat it when they needed it. There was no need to spend extra effort. Then, the schools that didn't have merchants to invest in were taken over by Xiao Bei and the others. The money spent was not necessarily the profits from the candy house, but also the special funds of the imperial court. Among them, there was money from the schools that had a lot of investment, and there were also schools near tourist areas and trade centers. Naturally, the money they received was more. If they received 1,000 strings of coins a day, how could they spend 1,000 strings of coins a day? Thus, they had to hand it over and let the imperial court distribute it according to needs. Kaguang County was one of the beneficiaries. The children enjoyed the welfare of the entire country, and when they grew up, they would return to the country through various positions. In the face of such a situation, the families that had monopolized most of the benefits of the Tang Empire had no choice but to support them. They dared to challenge the system, but they did not dare to challenge Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Thus, the children of this era were happy and hard-working, unlike Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's era. Many children were unwilling to go to school, and they saw school as a burden. They hoped to get sick and then ask for leave. The children of this era were very sensible. They knew that in the past, only the rich could find teachers to teach their children. They also knew that even if they found teachers, they lacked textbooks and usually copied them. It was not as good as now. Every time they smelled the ink of textbooks, the peace that came from the heart was happiness. Moreover, going to school was easier than picking firewood and herding sheep at home. They ate better than at home, had new clothes to wear, and could play with other children. The sensible children were told from a young age that all of this was given by Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. These were two people with intimate names, lofty positions, and not too far apart. Thus, they had to be sincere in offering incense and praying to their longevity tablets every day. Otherwise, they would be letting down the Tang Empire, letting down the emperor, letting down themselves, letting down their conscience, letting down... Since Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan enjoyed the love and respect of most of the people in the Tang Empire, they naturally had to do things for the people. They did not care about the few people who hated them in the original aristocratic families. So what if they hated them? Did they hate us for depriving them of their monopoly on education? Did they hate us for setting up a trap when we exchanged land with them for other benefits? Did they hate us for raising the status of the ordinary people? Did they hate us for exposing to the world the fact that they used the name of scholars who did not compete for benefits but did business behind their backs? Yes, there were many things that could be done but could not be said. Did we say it in the beginning? We did not say it, did we? Because we were not strong enough, we endured. Now that we are strong enough, we can do it. It is your turn to not say it. If you don't believe me, you can go to the streets and shout bad things about us. After Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan deceived the original aristocratic families, they did not show the slightest bit of embarrassment. Who asked them to foolishly exchange land for the right to operate the railway? Who asked them to exchange rare metals for the right to sell new goods? Do you dare to say that you did not want to take advantage of them? It is just that you did not expect the railway to develop so quickly and so many new goods to appear. Who is to blame? Blame us? Look carefully, that is the contribution of the people of the Tang Empire. How much tax can the two of us increase? It is the increase in the country's gross domestic product. Do you understand? With this thought, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were very happy. The two of them worked together to suppress a class of interests in the Tang Empire. History could not be created by one person, but one person could guide more people to change it. So what if we suppress a class? Those powerful people can destroy an entire race. Do you think that there are few people who destroyed their own race? That is why the two of us have to work hard. Under the condition of ensuring the stability of the lives of the people in the country, we have to do our best to liberate those who are still in slavery and help those who are being exploited. On the way to Hanyuan Palace, Zhang Xiaobao said to Wang Wan that the two of them had just discussed the problem of class. Oh, Xiaobao, do you want to slaughter a large number of Indians like the United States, or learn from Spain? As Wang Wan spoke, she tidied up her clothes. She had not worn the official uniform for a long time and was not used to it now. Zhang Xiaobao was also not used to it, but he endured and said, "Our Chinese civilization is different from other civilizations." How big was the original Central Plains? Why did it become the current territory? It is not how strong the military force is, but how tolerant the people are. The Jews are all over the world, but when they united and evacuated from various countries, the people in our country did not because they were assimilated. This is not the invasion of the national ideology, but the true integration of the two sides. So we do not need to slaughter a certain race until they are extinct. We just need to be in contact with them. Wang Wan narrowed her eyes and nodded with a smile. She knew that, as Zhang Xiaobao said, the Chinese people were never the same and would not reject others. Even if the whole world migrated to China, the Chinese people would welcome them. Come on, everyone do things together, and everyone's children can play together. It was not like other countries, regions, and ethnic groups that were xenophobic. To put it nicely, this was called national independence. To put it bluntly, this was called inferiority. How much inferiority did the people have to be so narrow-minded? How much inferiority did the people have to be so afraid of outsiders? Can't they live together? Can't they develop together? No, they must act like wild beasts, draw a circle, and then push others out of the circle. But the animal world told people that such wild beasts will eventually lose their territory. Then, if it was a nation or a country, even if such a country's technology was ahead of the time, in terms of spiritual level, it was still undeveloped. Of course, many countries might not think this way. They believed that using knives and forks and eating separately was a sign of civilization. Everyone ate what was in front of them. In fact, China had been like this since a long time ago. They used knives and forks and ate separately. But later on, they found that this was not the way. Knives and forks were made of metal, and there was a shortage of food in China. It was best for everyone to eat together and use chopsticks. This was the wisdom and behavior of survival. In other words, using knives and forks and eating separately was not a way of eating that was praised and worshipped. It was something that China had done a long time ago. It was just that a small group of Chinese people were blinded by other countries' technology. They saw that other countries' technology was better than theirs, and they thought that everything was better. Eating meat cooked with a grilled method and using other people's name, they felt that it was fashionable. Even if it was a bowl of noodles, using other people's name, they felt proud. The more she thought about it, the angrier Wang Wan got. She could not help but complain to Zhang Xiaobao, "There were many stupid people in China back then, right? What's wrong now?" Zhang Xiaobao was surprised. "I'm angry. Look at how good the Tang Empire is now. In the past, when we attended banquets, there were always many people who thought that suits and western gowns were formal wear. It was as if it was wrong to not wear it. They said that the guests were not allowed to enter, especially the men. They had to wear a suit and tie. When I was my brother's female companion, I wore a chong sam and my brother wore a long gown. I didn't see the doorman dare to stop us and say that our attire was not proper. Especially when we went to America, the waiters there were very respectful and let us in directly. That was because they knew that my brother and I represented the cultural heritage of a country with a long history. Wang Wan touched her clothes and felt that it was no longer uncomfortable to wear the official uniform. This was heritage, and the material was good. After hearing Wang Wan's words, Zhang Xiaobao frowned and thought for a while, then asked, "Which brother? Female companion? You're paying attention to this?" "My brother." Wang Wan felt that Zhang Xiaobao's IQ had obviously dropped at this moment. She had to add on to explain so that Zhang Xiaobao could return to normal. Zhang Xiaobao rolled his eyes and said, "Oh, your second brother, Wang Yueli, the kid who lacks earth in the 5 elements? He started wearing long gowns when he was in junior high, just like Kong Yiji. It was said that one day when it rained, his cloth shoes were wet, and he found a pair of boots at the last minute. After putting them on, he still looked as good as before. That's because everyone wants to see the treatment that Kong Yiji has never enjoyed. It's just that I don't know if he has Kaiyuan Tong Bao with him. It's best if he has 9 Kaiyuan Tong Bao, right? You want a plate of fennel beans and drink it with water mixed with yellow wine. You know my family very well." Wang Wan sneered and questioned. Zhang Xiaobao looked innocent. "I have to know who is coming to arrest me, right? If it was that chief of the main hall, I would let him suffer a little." Wang Wan asked. "Suffer what?" "If it were him, that kid would still kidnap the child. I would still have to exchange with him, but I don't want to die with him. He's too ugly. He doesn't trim his nose hair once in half a year. It's almost like a beard. Did he deliberately keep it and put conditioner on it?" Zhang Xiaobao spared no effort to attack the chief of the Special Second Division who had insisted on arresting him, although this chief was at the level of the main hall and had a high position. Wang Wan's smile softened. She said, "At that time, you were so domineering. You actually had so many checks from well-known banks on you. You scared that kid. Maybe he was hesitating at that time. But I knew that you would definitely take out that money to buy his life. He shouldn't have kidnapped the child in a place that used to be an orphanage. No one can challenge the dignity of the director. Hubby, you're a man." "Ah. Oh, honey, actually, second brother is a good person. Although he wore boots once, he didn't take off his coat, right? Kong Yiji didn't take off his coat either. He even gave the child fennel beans. What he wanted to teach the child was not the 4 ways to write the word hui. He wanted to teach the foundation of the Chinese language. This is just like how we tirelessly teach the Tang Empire's officials various economic methods. Even if it's the theory of fixed tax and value-added tax in a simple transaction, we have to gradually analyze it for the officials. We have to analyze the relationship between the increase of these 2 taxes and the increase of the local economic output and intermediate costs. We even have to give them guidance on consumer psychology. Why would the price of the same thing increase in the capital? What is the increase? Is it the influence of the regional CPI, the cost of the intermediate transportation link, the risk and loss of the product logistics, or the additional profit value pursued by the production area itself? Everything is to let the relevant people understand, from the most basic aspects, so that they can grasp and formulate policies more easily. During this process, have we done anything unnecessary? Yes, because some officials are stupid. If you don't add anything, they won't even know what the snake is. At that time, Kong Yiji probably didn't think so much. He taught others the 4 ways to write the word hui, just to show off. Many people thought that he was funny. Then I want to ask, is the word hui funny? Is the word hui funny in running script? Is the word hui funny in Xiaozhuan? If this Kong Yiji really exists, then did the people who mocked him give fennel beans to the child? What did they teach others? Did they want to teach the next generation how to mock a person who was willing to teach the foundation of the Chinese language to others? Zhang Xiaobao said a lot of things and they were about to reach the Hanyuan Palace Hall. Wang Wan was surprised. It seemed to be different from what they had discussed before. Why did Xiaobao say all this? She asked, "Hubby, are you saying that Lu Sun is narrow-minded?" "No, I'm saying that our second brother is very elegant even if he wears boots, especially when his female companion is you." This is the foundation of the Chinese. You didn't become the female companion of a strange man at a banquet in the West. You definitely belong to the category of beauty, just like Kong Iji. Oh. Wang Wan understood. He was actually talking about this for a long time. She glanced at Zhang Xiaobao and said, "The difference between you and Xianglin's wife is that you know that there are wolves in winter, but your thinking is as dirty as other men." "Thank you. I've always been like father-in-law, even though he's a high-ranking official," Zhang Xiaobao said understandingly. Wang Wan gritted her teeth and said, "My father only has one woman, and that's my mother. He has never thought of anyone else." "Ah. Then what should I do? Can I only have one woman, and that's my mother-in-law? That won't do. Xiaobao, for half a year, I've decided to let you count the moon. Now be serious. Hanyuan Palace Hall. Hanyuan Palace Hall was indeed a serious place. It was so serious that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had to wear official robes. Even Xiao Bei and the others had to do the same. During the imperial court, they usually rode their bicycles here. If you want others to feel the same sense of dignity, you need your race to have a certain level of strength. It's best to have a base first, such as Israel. So, when you wear traditional clothes in other countries and are looked at seriously, you should first think about whether your own race is strong or not. If you think that your own personality is strong, then you are too ridiculous. When you turn around and laugh at your race, you are not a human being. In Hanyuan Palace Hall, Li Longji and the civil and military officials did not laugh at Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Their expressions were very serious. It had nothing to do with the weather or the prestige of the officials. The direct reason was that they could not figure out why the two people below were wearing official robes to the imperial court today. The people who were usually calm and collected were actually so dignified. It made people feel uneasy. It was just as Li Longji had thought. What were they trying to do? Was the end of the world coming? Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan bowed and spoke into the microphone that someone nearby passed to them. This subject, Bohai Commander-in-Chief Office's Jidushi Zhang Xiaobao, this subject, Bohai Commander-in-Chief Office's Jidushi Wang Wan, pays respect to Your Majesty. There was a long line behind the microphone. It looked very inconvenient. Li Longji took a deep breath. He could already hear the sound of his own heartbeat. It made people nervous. "Minister Zhang, Minister Wang, dispense with the formalities, please sit." Li Longji responded in the manner of a proper ruler and minister. A little eunuch hurriedly ran over to prepare chairs. Luo Bin could not wait and went to the last two seats of the civil officials. He pushed them up and snatched their chairs and placed them behind Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan sat at the very bottom facing Li Longji. There were also civil and military officials on both sides. This position was very good. The other officials could see the two of them if they looked down. "Is there an important matter?" Li Longji asked. He unconsciously crossed his hands together. The officials controlled their breathing and waited for Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's reply. This subject found out yesterday that the Tang Dynasty's patrol inspector Zhang Xiaobai, Wang Xiaoyuan, and other officials encountered heavy snow on their way to Fengzhou. In order to help the local people, they are trapped in the open area of the Yellow River on the east side of Kaguang County. The transmission was interrupted. When this subject came, it had not yet been restored. Therefore, this subject wishes to ask the imperial court to send aid. Zhang Xiaobao explained the reason for his visit. There was a sigh of relief in Hanyuan Palace. Li Longji opened his crossed hands and glared at Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. He said, "I thought it was something serious. In the future, the two of you are not allowed to be so scary. The casual clothes you usually wear are more comfortable." Yes, casual clothes are better." "Yes, it should be casual clothes." "It's better than official clothes." The officials all agreed. When they saw Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan urgently request an audience in official clothes, they felt that the sky was falling. It was actually a trivial matter. It was too deceptive. It's not good for the two of us to be too casual in the imperial court. Wang Wan explained. You can be casual. In the future, when you meet someone, the two of you can go around from the back. There is no need to let others report. The officials are already working very hard every day. Don't add to their psychological burden. We already know that Xiao Bai and the others are trapped. You and Xiao Bao can send people to deliver things. What do you lack? It's not easy to allocate things at the moment. This subject will take them from the national treasury. Li Longji's mood brightened. He no longer spoke in a formal manner. Zhang Zhong also raised his sleeve to wipe the sweat on his forehead. Just now, he was also frightened. Although his son and daughter-in-law looked very good in official clothes, no official or commoner wanted to see the two of them in such formal clothes. After letting out a sigh of relief, Zhang Zhong put on a serious expression and shouted at Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, Xiaobao, Cuckoo, why aren't the two of you at home looking after Mingming? Why are you running to Hanyuan Palace Hall to talk about such a small matter? Zhang Xiaobao stood up and cupped his hands. He said, Minister Zhang, this official does not dare to agree with your words. Don't talk to me about this. Today, I am not the Minister of Works. I am your father. Xiao Bai and the others have more than 20,000 people in their team. They have all the supplies they need. Not to mention saving a disaster, they should be able to fight a siege against the enemy, right? Tell me, what do they lack? Zhang Zhong, who had always been serious and attached great importance to the imperial court, could not help it. The main reason was that he felt that it was not good to scare the emperor and other colleagues. Zhang Xiaobao was not to be outdone. They lack oil, especially diesel oil and kerosene. Father, husband is right. Xiao Bai and the others lack the above two things. If it were normal times, they could use them sparingly and distribute according to the actual situation. For example, lighting can keep many places dark. For example, heating can seal tents. However, they are now facing disaster relief. Xiao Bai and the others must give the commoners an impression of strong soldiers. They will choose to light up the entire night, choose to increase the overall temperature of the area, and choose to force their way through when they are in a hurry. What the commoners see is that no matter when, where, what the situation is, the most elite troops of the Tang Empire will face it easily. Even if the sky falls and the earth shatters, the place where the protection team appears will not move. Even if the mountains and seas are turned upside down, they will be able to turn the tide. Wang Wan cooperated with Zhang Xiaobao to add on. Li Longji slapped the table. That's right. Wherever the protection team goes, it must be safe, no matter when, no matter where. This way, even if all the regular troops of the Tang Empire are defeated one day, the protection team will not be deployed, and my imperial army will not be defeated. The people will not lose their confidence. This is the last line of defense. Not only does it defend the territory, but it also protects the soul of the Tang Empire. Xiao Bao, Cuckoo, Xiao Bai and the others lack things. Send them. Your Majesty, it's impossible. We can't send them. The snow has already blocked the road. The Minister of War, Xiao Song, spoke the truth. He knew the army, so he knew how bad the environment was. Even Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's protection team could not break through. Every step they took was a pit. There was no way out. It's you who can't send them. Li Longji was unhappy. You're a normal person. You're saying it's impossible. Many years ago, when it was snowing heavily in Feng State, we sent 10 tons of supplies a day. How much did we send back then? The Turks who were willing to surrender saw that the supply of supplies to Feng State increased instead of decreased. What we need is this willpower. When faced with a strong opponent, they will become stronger. They will not compromise or lower their heads. Otherwise, do you think the Turks who surrendered will live so obediently? Xiao Song hurriedly admitted his mistake. Yes. Your Majesty is right. We are all kites. What we play is to soar into the sky in adversity. If there is no adversity, we will not fly. Then, Provincial Governor Zhang, Deputy Provincial Governor Wang, can you teach us how to fly? Minister Zhang must be confident, right? Xiao Song pushed the problem to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. He did not forget to add fuel to the fire for Zhang Zhong. Zhang Zhong calmed down at this moment. He thought about it. His son and daughter-in-law were right. Xiao Bai and Xiao Yuan promised to show their strongest side so that the people would feel at ease. No matter how heavy the snow was, the people would definitely see the sun rise and the clouds parting. However, the corresponding consumption would increase. The diet was fixed. No matter how much you ate, you could not eat the food of more than a few people. Oil was the most scarce. When the children left, they knew that they had only brought an extra month's worth of oil. Because the total time from the capital to Feng State was not much, they had already considered the consumption of oil if they encountered unexpected situations. However, who would have thought that an abnormal heavy snow would suddenly fall? Thinking like this, Zhang Zhong put away his temper with the children and asked softly, "Xiao Bao, Cuckoo, if you need money from your family, just take it. There is no need to disturb the court." "Thank you for your understanding, father. The problem is not about money. It is a race against time. Send as much as possible to Xiao Bai so that they will feel at ease. If it were a group of adult court officials, I could slowly gather the transportation resources and let them wait. However, Xiao Bai and the others are our younger siblings. Yesterday, when we received the telegram, we did not immediately tell the emperor. Overnight, Cuckoo and I gathered the supplies, but when we woke up in the morning, we still could not make a telegram communication. Xiao Bai and the others must be waiting for brother and sister to make a move. Every second that they wait, Cuckoo and I will feel heartache for one more second." Zhang Xiaobao spoke in a heavy tone. Wang Wan added, "So after Xiaobao and I arranged everything, we went to the imperial court in our official robes. We requested the imperial court to issue a formal administrative order to rush to our younger siblings' aid. We didn't want to discuss in casual attire. Now, does anyone object or have any doubts?" The officials collectively fell silent. Even the Minister of Revenue Wang Bei, who had always stood on the opposite side of the Zhang family and Wang family, did not dare to object. They knew that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo were serious. Anyone who dared to raise any questions would be the enemy of the Zhang family and Wang family for life. This was different from the usual disputes in the court. They also knew that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo were wearing official robes to express their private feelings. If anyone objected, they would definitely resign. What would the emperor do? Wang Bei thought for a moment and said, "Your Majesty, I think that Xiao Bai, Wang Xiaoyuan, and the rest of the Tang patrol team are facing a severe test. To be honest, they are still children. We should not put all the pressure on them to save the people. Your Majesty, please issue a decree." "Your Majesty, I agree," all the officials said in unison. Li Longji was relieved. He felt that this was what a real official should be like. It was fine to have conflicts in normal times, but at critical times, they should be unified and not fight among themselves. When the people of Tang were suffering, everyone's hearts were united. While the children were fighting, the adults could not fall behind. Thus he said, "You are right. As long as there is help, I am willing to do my best. There will definitely be no financial problems." Wang Bei looked at Zhang Zhong and said, at this time, he really did not have any selfish motives. He still remembered that when he offended Zhang Zhong, he stopped the benefits. Later, when his daughter-in-law was pregnant, he supplemented the benefits. Furthermore, the benefits that were specially made for the child were more expensive than before. He was telling himself that the child's matter had nothing to do with the political views of the adults. He wanted the child to stay away from filth. Now, Wang Bei also knew that he had to put the child first. If he still wanted to use Xiao Bai and the others to attack the Zhang family and Wang family, he did not dare to think about the consequences. However, he had already made a mistake in his morals. Money is a small problem. Xiao Bao, Cuckoo, how do you plan to transport the things to the destination? Do we need to mobilize a group of eagles? Li Longji did not care about the money. What he cared about was the fastest way to send the things to the destination. Zhang Xiaobao glanced at his father and then replied, "It's too late. The group of eagles has always been in Feng province. That place is suitable for training eagles. Only planes can be deployed. Shui Yun has already gone out at dawn to lock onto Xiaobai's position. She will be back in a while. Then, the Tang Empire's air force will be deployed. As soon as Zhang Xiaobao finished speaking, everyone finally understood why the two of them had gone to court. It turned out that they wanted to deploy the air force. The air force was led by the two of them. Even the key design was done by them. When the first plane took off, there was a small wind tunnel. Now, there were 41 planes in service. There were 366 pilots. Only 35 people could complete the mission well. It seemed that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo intended to deploy these 35 people. Will it work? Li Longji was not confident. The weather was too bad. Yes. From the capital, we have 16 planes that can fly to the destination and fly back after delivering the things. Each plane can deliver 500 kilograms of things. The problem is not taking off and landing. The capital's airport is very dry. The problem is the low visibility. We need Shuiyun's family to do a good job of navigating. Zhang Xiaobao said. Li Longji was surprised. Not 35? Only 16 are transport planes. To be precise, they are man-made bombers. The other planes can't fly over. Oh, they can fly over, but they can't fly back. Zhang Xiaobao explained. Li Longji thought about it and realized that the transport planes could fly further. He then asked, why didn't we build transport planes in the past? Because transport planes are not good as training planes. There will be a lot of new planes in the spring next year. From now on, we will start to transport the fuel. Each batch will be 8,000 kilograms. They will be delivered twice a day. When there is heavy snow, they will stop. Zhang Xiaobao was even more anxious than Li Longji. The people of Great Tang were already amazed when they saw planes. However, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan knew very well how bad the planes were now. The flight distance was short, the flight speed was low, the flight altitude was low, and the load was small. If it were them, one plane would be enough. As long as there was no snow at the airport, the flying environment would not be a problem. They did not need to observe the ground with their eyes. However, their technology was not up to par, so they could only endure. They were used to having supplies airdropped to any place in the country. How could they adapt to such a situation? Minister of War Xiao Song sighed and asked, is it very dangerous? Yes, it's not just a little big, but we have to go. Don't think that we are just delivering some things to Xiaobei. We have to follow the rules of war. If that place is not Xiaobei but a large number of enemy troops, will our air force be deployed? If there is a need, we can let other planes take off. It will be a one-way trip. Today, I want everyone to allow the planes to take off. Also, I want everyone to write a letter to publicize this operation. I want the Great Tang's air force to be perfectly displayed in front of the people. Zhang Xiaobao explained the purpose of publicity. Li Longji and the other officials agreed. They did need to let the people know how strong the Great Tang was. In the future, they could give other people a chance to survive. For example, a fisherman who went out to sea to fish was blown to an island by the wind. In the past, he and his family could only wait for news of his death. His family could not even get any news and could only guess. Then, with the aid of airplanes, the fisherman would adjust his mentality and stamina. He knew that his family would report him when they found out that he did not return. Then, rescue boats would come out. At the same time, planes would take off to patrol the sea. If he maintained his mentality and stamina, he could live for a long time. There were also those who lost their way in the grassland. An area was surrounded by floods. If a plane flew over their head and then flew away, they would know that more planes would appear. The education of patriotism was especially important. When he was in danger, the country would give him hope. When the country was faced with a choice between life and death, he would choose to protect the country. At the moment, the imperial court did not publicize airplanes, so the people were more familiar with Shuiyun. When Shuiyun was free, She would bring her family to various places in the Great Tang to familiarize themselves with the terrain. In the process, she would help others when they were in danger. When a small group of people was surrounded by wolves on the grassland, Shuiyun's family appeared. The wolves did not even have the courage to fight with Shuiyun's family and were chased by Shuiyun's family. When someone fell into the water, Shuiyun would rescue them. Although there were several scratches on their arms and legs when they were thrown ashore, they were only superficial wounds. You were still alive, right? When someone got lost in the mountains, Shuiyun would help to report to the local government office. It took some time to communicate, but the goal would be achieved in the end. Shuiyun's family was such an existence. Their ability to find people was better than that of pilots. Many people in the wild would feel relieved when they saw Shuiyun flying in the sky. The only pity was that since ancient times, there weren't many such intelligent animals. However, every time such an animal appeared, regardless of whether it was a cat, a dog, a cow, or a horse, it would be praised and valued by humans. Right now, it was time for Shuiyun to contribute. He was arrogant and never ate the food given by others. He also never showed kindness to others. Even if it was Li Longji, the emperor, he only trusted a small group of people from the Zhang family and Wang family. When he heard Zhang Yinglian's words and pictures and took out the photos of Xiao Bei and the others, he spread his wings and rushed toward the snowy yellow river bank, giving people the impression that he was very anxious. Xiao Bei and the others, who had set up camp and stayed still, accompanied the children for a lesson and then played with them. They never said a word about the management of the camp, nor did they run around. Little sister Xiao Bei, let's go catch a few fish in the river, okay? If we make a hole in the ice, the fish will show up by themselves. If we make a large piece of ice, I even dare to go down to catch fish. I'm very good. A 12-year-old boy named Sun Jizong was related to the county magistrate, Sun Mao. In fact, most people in Kagwang County were related to him. Sun Jizong probably wanted to show off his ability to catch fish in front of Xiao Bei, so he was instigating. Xiao Yuan glared at him. You shut up. When are you still thinking of going out to find trouble? Do you want to waste the manpower of our guard team and break a large piece of ice for you to catch fish? Do you need it? My Xiao Bei only needs a small hole to get in and take the fish out. You stay here, or I'll beat you up. Sun Jizong shrank back. He felt that he couldn't beat Xiao Yuan. Xiao Yuan, don't always scare people. It's not good to beat people up. Our goal is to control other people's behavior. If you ask me, break his legs. I'll see how he goes into the water. You have to be rational in the future, okay? Xiao Bei reprimanded Xiao Yuan. Xiao Yuan was very cooperative. Is one leg okay? I won't go down really. Xiao Yuan, you're the best. Sun Jizong was scared to death by Xiao Bei. He was really rational. In order to achieve his goal, he didn't scare people at all and directly broke their legs. Xiao Yuan, who beat people up, was a good person. Hee, I'm just kidding. When the spring ice flows down, if we can still pass by, I'll accompany you to the river to catch fish. If you follow my team to play, you won't have to be afraid of drowning. We have special protective measures. Now, don't run around. Can't you see that I've become obedient? Xiao Bei said with a smile. Sun Jizong heaved a sigh of relief. Suddenly, he thought of something and asked, Brother Xiao Yuan, Sister Xiao Bei, I heard that Brother Xiao Bao and Sister Cuckoo are very powerful. They have been personally leading the rescue every time there's a problem. Why aren't you leading? Because we don't know how. The 9 of us can only lead about 300 people. We can't handle more. Now, we're doing this. Keeping an eye on you is the greatest contribution to the team. We're a burden. Wrong. You and us are all hope. Hope? Oh, I hope that the snow will stop soon. Look, it's still snowing. How good would it be if this snow didn't happen? Xiao Bei, our Kagwang County is going to be rich soon. Everyone's poultry and livestock can be sold for money. There's also extra livestock to help with the farming. When it snows, I hear the county magistrate crying. Brother. Yes, I'm the oldest. The county magistrate said that God doesn't want to see us doing well. When the snow falls, people will die. Our last hope is your family's workers and cooks. They're really powerful. They didn't feel sad or cry. They just called for everyone to work. Then, the seedling protection team came. The same clothes, the same backpack, and the same footsteps. At that time, I felt that it wasn't a group of people, but a mountain. Can you imagine it? At that time, someone shouted at the top of his lungs to stop. Then boom, 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 boom. Then, there was the sound of wind. They were so strong. We couldn't even line up properly. There were always people making small movements and people making noises. They had so many people, but they were like rocks, not moving at all. Sun Jizong, who was already very sensible, explained the situation to Xiao Bei and the rest. His eyes were full of admiration. Being praised, Xiao Bei was happy. He narrowed his eyes and said humbly, "It's nothing. It's very normal." You said it too. They're the seedling protection team. You know how to farm. Didn't the seedlings stand very orderly? How can the people protecting them be bad? Actually, the powerful ones are here. Quick, prepare warm water and raw meat. Shui Yun is here. As Xiao Bei spoke, he inadvertently raised his head and happened to see a figure moving about amidst the flying snow. It was as if he was dancing amidst countless black dots. In the forbidden zone of life, Shui Yun's figure was so beautiful. Some people saw it for the thrill, while others saw it for the courage. Xiao Bei saw it for the calmness, as if she was in the water. Shui Yun, here. Quick, bring me the gun. Xiao Bei waved her hand vigorously and then asked the guard beside her to bring the gun over. She and Xiao Yuan each held one side. Shui Yun let out a cheerful cry. Her wings moved and retracted, and she lightly landed on the gun shaft. She swayed her head left and right, carefully sizing up Xiao Bei and the rest. Her eyes were full of kindness and inquiry. Immediately, someone sprayed water on Shui Yun. It had just been adjusted. Although Shui Yun came over in the wind and snow, her body was very hot, especially when she was flying so hard. Once she landed, her heart rate and blood pressure would increase. She needed to cool down. If there was no help, the eagle would have to cool down by itself. But if there was help, the eagle would feel much more comfortable. Most of the time, when a rabbit kicked an eagle, it didn't hurt the eagle. Instead, it caused the eagle's blood pressure to suddenly rise. Then, the eagle was done for. Shui Yun was very cooperative. She spread her wings, adjusted her position, and lowered her head to drink a few mouthfuls of water. She was very satisfied. Shui Yun, why did you come here? Is there something wrong? Eat something first, Xiao Bei said happily. Chapter 7. Shui Yun lowered her head and pecked at the bamboo tube on her claws. Xiao Bei smiled and helped her take it off. I saw it. I just wanted to ask you. Many children from the county came over, but Shui Yun was unwilling to talk to them. She waited quietly on the spear pole. She still had to fly back later. The mission this time was urgent, so she was more tired and had to recover her strength as soon as possible. The children liked Shui Yun, but they didn't dare to touch her. Firstly, they were afraid of being nagged, and secondly, it would seem that they didn't respect the general of the imperial court. Xiao Bei took out a stack of papers from the bamboo tube, looked at the words, and read aloud, "We are worried that you don't have enough gasoline and diesel supplies. Shui Yun will go to check the route. From Shui Yun, transport planes will deliver supplies to your department. Minister of War Xiao Song. Here, look at the blueprints." Xiao Bei handed the blueprints to the people of the protection team and complained, "Damn the telegram. It's not useful at the crucial moment," making Shui Yun fly back and forth. "It's snowing." Xiao Yuan sighed and said, "It must be the idea of brother and sister. Others wouldn't have thought that we use more fuel." Xiao Hai added, "Since the supplies are coming, we can continue to send people to He River and set up a few contact points on the road. We can gather people as soon as possible and think of a way to cross the snow-covered area. The children nearby were obviously concerned about different things from the adults. When they heard that there was a plane coming, they spread the news one by one. Soon, all the children knew. All kinds of happy voices were heard in the snow. A few sensible adults felt sad. Sun Mao came forward and asked Xiao Bei and the others, "Is our arrival making things difficult for you? What kind of oil are you using? Is it the thing that the machine needs? It has nothing to do with you. How many people do you have? We have a lot of people, so don't worry. The oil is not valuable. The pilots who came can also be treated as training." Xiao Bei naturally couldn't say that he was right. Sun Mao nodded slowly and said, "If you need us, just let us know." He had already understood. At night, the lights outside were on. During the day, the tents were also open so that it wouldn't be so stuffy inside. If the people in his county felt comfortable and at ease, then the protection team would definitely do something. They couldn't just open the tents for no reason, and it wouldn't be cold in the tents. Sun Mao sighed. Xiao Bei and the others were just putting on an act. Their goal was to not let the people in their county suffer a little. When they returned home in the future, they would be full of energy when they started rebuilding. After thinking about it, Sun Mao felt conflicted. He wanted to tell the people in the county to suffer a little and not let Xiao Bei and the rest waste things. However, he was also afraid that Xiao Bei and the rest would waste their efforts. "Why don't we close the tent? Just say that the wind is too strong," Sun Mao muttered, wanting to help. "You better not interfere." Su Ilong's voice suddenly sounded from behind Sun Mao. Sun Mao turned around. Su Ilong smiled at him and said, "In fact, we are not very short of gasoline and diesel at the moment. According to the current consumption, it is not a problem to last for 20 days. Then." Sun Mao uttered a word, meaning to ask, "Then why did Xiao Bao and the others airdrop them? How could a plane fly in a snowy day?" The seedling protection team has a habit of constantly maintaining the level of logistics that is enough to support and win a battle, which is 10 times the battle reserve level of their enemy. Obviously, according to this consumption, the amount of firewood and gasoline reserves will be reduced. The seedling protection team does not like this feeling. Currently, the amount of firewood and gasoline used is 2.5 times that of a normal seedling protection team. Don't you realize that it is not cold walking near the tent? Su Ilong winked at Sun Mao, allowing him to feel the temperature of the land and the stickiness of the snow under his feet when it rolled. Sun Mao stuck out his tongue and licked his lips. He swallowed 2 mouthfuls of saliva. His expression changed and he said in distress, "It's all our fault. Xiao Bei and the others intend to give us a very safe environment." Yes, Xiao Bei and the others need the seedling protection team to leave an impression on you with their absolute strength. You don't have to feel guilty. Xiao Bei and the others are the same in any county. The ones that I admire the most are Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. It is only the second day, not even 24 hours. After the telegram communication was cut off, they could immediately respond in the capital. I guess Xiao Bei and the others took this into consideration, so they dared to operate the machine at a high capacity. The Tang Empire today is not the past. Su Ilong saw that she had said too much. She was afraid that Sun Mao's heart would be heavy, so she immediately added to comfort him. Sun Mao stood and thought for a while. He showed a special smile and said, "Yes, the Tang Empire with Xiao Bao and Cuckoo is very strong. Since they have decided, let's enjoy it. The seedling protection team has always been our most solid support. You should take the opportunity to organize the people in the county and let the seedling protection team teach you the little knowledge in daily life. Don't think that you are more familiar with life than others because you usually live like this. The seedling protection team is systematic learning. If you are not their enemy, you don't know how scary they are." Su Ilong helped to come up with ideas. Since everyone was here, it was a waste of resources to only let the people in the county do some manual labor. Sun Mao touched Su Ilong's head happily and said, "Thank you, I will arrange it later." I really don't know how scary the seedling protection team is. Even if you say that they can defeat 10 times the enemy at any time. I only know how firm I was when I saw them in despair when it snowed yesterday, because I am not their enemy. It is an enemy 10 times the same armed, not an unarmed farmer. Su Ilong emphasized, they are not only responsible for the foreign war at the critical moment, but also for the rebellion of the army in a certain area. For example, the military and political officials in a slightly remote place in the Tang Empire join hands to rebel. What the seedling protection team has to do is to go over and then annihilate. Don't think that the army in other places can compete with the seedling protection team with the same weapons. They can't afford the training fees. I have seen it with my own eyes once. It was a training session for the seedling protection team. Really? Sun Mao was curious. Really, artillery and infantry worked together. That was a real fight. The artillery fell as if it did not cost money. The artillery's data was very tight because the infantry was not far from the landing point of the artillery. A row of artillery shells fell, the second row of artillery shells fell, and the third row of artillery shells pushed forward. Before the artillery shells hit the ground, they entered the first row of artillery shells. This is called slowly entering the bullet screen. The infantry needed to step on the artillery points and shoot during the attack to destroy the targets that were not damaged by the artillery shells. That was a real artillery shell. If there was a mistake between them, they would die. Previously, they needed to train separately. It was said that an artillery soldier needed to shoot 300 artillery shells a year. The error rate of the last few dozens of artillery shells was less than 3 meters to participate in such a live-fire exercise. What did I see that day? The artillery shells fell, the people pushed forward, followed by rocket launchers, artillery shells, grenade launchers, rifle grenades, and hand grenades. The entire position was full of all kinds of smoke and explosions. There was no blind spot, and all the targets were blown up. Only the army in other places of the Tang Empire dared to rebel. Even if the fortifications were built, they could not withstand the charge of the seedling protection team because they did not have the money to train like this. Their battalion-level commander could not even compare to the leader of the seedling protection team. Su Ilong said as she gestured, trying to describe the situation of the exercise to Sun Mao. Sun Mao was already confused. He smacked his lips and asked without confidence, "How many artillery shells can a sheep be exchanged for?" "It can be exchanged for at least 10, Su Ilong answered with uncertainty. Their artillery training used up 30 sheep a year? Sun Mao swallowed again. It was so expensive. More than that. Their artillery soldiers not only need to know how to fire, but they also need to know how to repair, know how to airborne, snipe, dodge during the process of swimming and counterattack on the other side. If an accident happens to the artillery soldier, any soldier can immediately take over the position of the artillery soldier. Although the shooting is not so accurate, the data needs to be calculated skillfully. Their artillery soldiers are amazing. There is a newly built cannon that can rotate. The artillery soldier blindfolded on it. When others report the position and distance, he can blow up the targets one by one. It is said that it is specially prepared for the scouts in special environments and terrains. When the scouts find the enemy, they measure the distance and position. In the case of fog, the cannoneers hit the target with one shot. Therefore, the seedling protection team is a standard combat force, not a simple rescue force. You don't have to worry about whether they have enough supplies. They just calculate the logistics for the battles that they encounter at any time. After Su Ilong finished speaking, Sun Mao was finally not as anxious as before. He greeted the other party and went back to inform the people in the county to be prepared and learn more from the seedling protection team. Xiao Bei had already written a reply and stuffed it back into the bamboo tube. Shui Yun, it doesn't matter if it takes a little bit of time. Fly slowly when you go back. When you have enough rest, bring them back in the afternoon. Look at the sky, the snow will be lighter in the afternoon, right? Xiao Bei was always worried about tiring Shui Yun out, just like how he did not want the seedling protection team to operate at full capacity. Shui Yun looked up at the sky and nodded slightly to Xiao Bei, meaning that the snow in the afternoon would indeed be lighter. Normally speaking, Shui Yun had the last say in the weather. He could easily fly to the stratosphere and glide up there for fun. He had seen a lot and naturally knew what kind of clouds would have what kind of changes. Asking him to lead the transport plane only showed that the Tang Empire's technology was not good enough and could not fly to such a high altitude. Otherwise, it would be easier to airdrop. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan only had one word for this: endure. Endure the Tang Empire's technology and slow progress. Yes, slow. At the same time, the two of them lamented and complained. Why didn't they learn more about this back then? They were all geniuses, right? Even if they had to spend 2 more years to learn and remember, it would not be as difficult as it was now. Although the current speed of development had surpassed the historical speed of the Industrial Revolution, at that time, the Industrial Revolution did not have a clear path and was summed up in failure. It was not like the two of them who were very clear about how many detours the Industrial Revolution had taken. The light bulb did not need to be tested thousands of times. The sealing of steam engines was a law. The operating principle of internal combustion engines was very clear, including the faults that would occur and several design concepts that the two of them knew. Of course, for children who did not study hard, it was impossible for them to remember and use at will. The two of them did not have to worry about whether they studied well or not. It just depended on what they wanted to learn. Zhang Xiaobao never felt that he was qualified to waste time on playing and college feelings. He carried the wishes of the dean's grandfather, and he had to do what the dean wanted to do but could not do. As a member of the Red family, Wang Wan grew up in internal and external competition. She was also very talented and was never willing to submit to a man. No man dared to look down on her, not even Zhang Xiaobao. Thus, they controlled the overall program of the Tang Empire's economy, society, human nature, politics, military, and diplomacy. However, the two of them still felt that they had learned too little, and their evaluation of themselves was ignorance. Zhang Xiaobao had only attacked the loopholes in the economic system of other countries, but he had not helped in the construction of that era. That was because it was too difficult, and he did not have the opportunity. He was not willing to help a small country, and he would be caught helping China. Wang Wan only had a master's degree. Although she had learned a lot and was very good at it, she did not have a systematic understanding of the top areas. Physics was not good, chemistry was not good, and mathematics was not good. In that era, no one could be multi-specialized. If you thought you were a genius, then who was not a genius at the top? Thus, the two of them spent most of their time learning. They taught each other what they knew and then studied it. Others would think that they were trying to solve difficult problems in the field of political economy, but in reality, the two of them had no such thoughts. The two of them spent most of their time studying biology, physics, chemistry, and mathematics, because this involved specific applications of medicine, weaponry, agriculture, and processing. Nowadays, the people of the medical academy almost regarded the two of them as gods. When the antibiotic penicillin was invented, the two of them were directly pushed to the altar. Later on, the two of them helped to develop erythromycin, and now they were developing a series of drugs for tuberculosis. As long as Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had time, they would have the medical academy submit research reports to check the research progress and mass production of various tuberculosis drugs. This is the advantage of the free medical system. Many people are afraid of spending money. Even if they are not feeling well, they will not come to see a doctor. When they find out that they have tuberculosis and are in the terminal stage, it is impossible to say that they will die immediately. It can only be maintained, and then more money will be spent. If the disease is known in advance, it is easy to treat it, and the social value created by this person's life will definitely be far greater than the cost of treatment. There may be exceptions for a single person, but the social value has never been calculated for a single person. Wang Wan was waiting for the morning court to end so that Li Longji and the others could come to see Xue Yun. Then, they could send out the transport plane. During the free time, she analyzed the report with Zhang Xiaobao and sighed with emotion. Zhang Xiaobao flipped through the report. Why do you think there are so many kinds of tuberculosis? Other than the common cold, it is probably the only kind that has many kinds. What you said just now was wrong in terms of calculation. Isn't it social value that they buy medicine when they are sick? Medical care has been industrialized. If they are not sick, they can create social value in other aspects. If they are sick, they can still create social value in medical institutions. Go, go, go. We agreed not to criticize the past. Look at the report. The little monkey is so pitiful. It is actually being inoculated with tuberculosis bacteria. In a few years, when the white mice are cultivated, the monkey can relax. Wang Wan saw that the report mentioned many monkeys and then said that she was not a member of the Protection Association. She just said that she did not care. It was fine as long as the monkey was dead and the human was alive. If they wanted to take pity on the entire world, that would be a god. True gods were not the gods of various religions. The gods of religions had always brought about control, exploitation, and slaughter. You were the one who said something about social value first. Shui Yun has not returned yet. It seems that she will only send out a team in the afternoon. This is a kind of test for the Tang Empire's Air Force. If we force an airdrop in this snowy day, who knows where it will land? Zhang Xiaobao did not care about the monkeys. His thoughts were on the people. To be precise, it was on the pilots. Since the beginning of the airplanes, 6 pilots had died. This number was heavy and light at the same time. Every life was heavy, but just like what was said on the day of the airplanes, this road to heaven was full of heroes. Wang Wan flipped to the last page, closed the report, and said, "It can only be said that our technology is not good enough. Shouldn't we airdrop in snow? The reason is that we don't have satellites. There is no remote sensing detection system on the airplanes. Otherwise, what is snow? When we pass through the clouds, we are frozen in ice. Can we not fly? When we don't have an air force, we don't need them to do anything. Since we have an air force, they must bear the responsibility of the air force. Otherwise, why do they eat beef and mutton every day? Why do they build such a beautiful house? It is not because they are pilots, but because they are always prepared to sacrifice. You misunderstood me. I don't feel sorry for them. I feel sorry for the diesel and gasoline. In order to throw 500 kilograms of things, more than a ton of fuel was consumed. I am afraid that they will not be able to throw accurately and waste the money." Zhang Xiaobao argued. "It would be strange if I believed you." Wang Wan muttered, got up, and looked out the window. She called Zhang Xiaobao, "Go and cook. Shui Yun will probably be back soon." Xiaobei and the others are probably afraid that Shui Yun will be tired, so they let him fly to the stratosphere. Shui Yun did come back from the stratosphere. He flew close to the ground to observe the terrain. When he came back, he could also observe the clouds. It was almost noon. Shui Yun landed easily and began to drink water. As he drank, he exhaled to lower his body temperature. There was another guided flight in the afternoon. His wife, Hong Wan, and the children were also there. When he went in the afternoon, Hong Wan and the 5 children had to follow him. Starting tomorrow, they would be separated from morning to afternoon. The main thing was color. Shui Yun was too white, and it was not good to dye him with other colors. He could only rely on different colors from his family for the pilots to observe. After an hour, Shui Yun indicated that he was ready. Everyone followed him to the airport in the suburbs of the capital, including the emperor, Li Longji. The airport was clean and flat. Occasionally, there would be a gunshot or a few reared falcons hovering in the sky. Their purpose was to shoot and catch birds. At the same time, they could practice their marksmanship. 16 transport planes were pulled out and parked on both sides. 366 pilots were neatly dressed and lined up in formation. There were also publicity staff from the capital newspaper taking photos with precious cameras. At the same time, more than 1,000 people appeared around them. They were still vigilant against each other. When they looked at unfamiliar people around them, they felt that they were saboteurs. Li Longji was invited to the stage to speak first. His gaze swept across everyone's face. Li Longji said into the microphone, "When I first heard of the heavy snow in Yin province, I was very worried. Later, I found out that Xiaobei, Xiaoyuan, Xiao Hai, 9 people happened to pass by. However, I am afraid that it will be difficult for the protection team to continue their supply and rescue. Shui Yun brought back news that they are heading west to meet the east current. Their code name is Countercurrent. Therefore, you are ordered to wait for the long-distance airdrop. Here, I wish you victory. Now, Wang Wan will swear the oath. Applause sounded. It was from the people and publicity staff. Only then did Li Longji not get angry. Wang Wan came up and applause sounded again. Wang Wan frowned and said with a cold expression, "Stop clapping. There are still people waiting to be rescued. There is nothing to be happy about." The people and publicity staff immediately stopped. They were very nervous, afraid that they would anger their cuckoo. There are 366 pilots in Great Tang. Wang Wan stared at the pilots. However, only 35 people can participate in this mission. The others are all unqualified. If you don't work hard during training, you will be eliminated at the crucial moment. There is no need to talk about feelings. I am very disappointed in those people who, under good weather conditions, can actually make a low-altitude airdrop with a margin of error of 1 mile. This is a great humiliation. 331 pilots lowered their heads, and some of them even shed tears. Another 3 pilots knelt on the ground. Obviously, they were the ones who had made the airdrop a mile away. The remaining 35 people. Wang Wan changed her target again. You just did better than the others. It doesn't mean that Xiao Bao and I are satisfied. This mission will be carried out by you. There will be 16 people in each group. Bring along 16 people who are better trained to participate. The remaining 3 will be on standby and be ready to be replaced at any time. Wang Wan paused for a moment to let everyone understand. Then, she said, the airport in Beijing will provide you with logistical support. Takeoff and landing will not cause you any trouble. I won't encourage you. I don't want to talk about how difficult the mission is, and I don't want to talk about how honorable you are. My request is simple. Fly over, drop the airdrop accurately, and fly back. As for the distance, bad weather, and low visibility, that is your problem. You are the pilots. I don't care about the process. I only want the results. If it was easy, why would I need you? Pilots carry out such missions. The meaning of your existence is this moment. Now, there is no road on the ground that can be passed at the required time. What should we do? Go up and fly over from the sky. Thus, this time, we will call it Long Sky Pass. Get on the plane and set off. Yes. The 16 pilots and the 16 pilots who followed to learn how to adapt shouted and ran to their planes. The people who came to watch the show and the publicity staff were confused. All of them felt a surge of emotion and were very puzzled. Just now, Cuckoo clearly said that she did not encourage them. Moreover, she was indifferent to the life and death of the pilots. She said that the mission was not difficult and that it was not honorable when they did it. Then why did it sound so prideful? It was as if being a pilot was something to be proud of. Especially that operation code, Long Sky Pass, was so domineering. How was it pass? It was clearly to force their way through. It echoed Xiao Bei and the others' code name, Countercurrent. Listening to it, one would feel that they were full of energy. Li Longji and the other officials were very satisfied with Wang Wan's pledge. Not mentioning how dangerous it was, just saying that they had to complete the mission was a form of trust. Trust in the pilots was even better. The transport planes that had been resupplied took off in 2 waves. 7 of Shuiyun's family were mobilized. They tied 2-foot-long strips of colored cloth to their feet. At the end of the strips of cloth were red lights powered by batteries. When they entered the snowy region, the pilots had to rely on the colors of Shuiyun's family and the strips of cloth and lights to determine the altitude and direction. The people on the ground looked at the sky and did not look away even when the planes became small black dots. They were waiting for all the people who flew to come back. The publicity staff began to think about how to write a script. They had to do their best to publicize this matter and let the people of Great Tang know what kind of strength their country had. Let's go. We still have to nurse Mingming when we get home. Wang Wan breathed a sigh of relief and turned to leave. Feeding the child was the most important thing. Shui Yun said that the snow will be lighter when we fly over. This is good news. Zhong Xiaobao followed. Let's go back. Everyone, go back to your own departments. Don't be lazy. Li Longji waved his hand at the people and strolled back. Everyone, it's been hard on you. Let's go to Savant's restaurant tonight. Zhong Zhong found a bicycle somewhere and rode it away. Wang Ke rubbed his stomach. You didn't eat lunch, right? What time is it? If you eat again, can you still eat at night if you're full? It's so confusing. I'm old. It doesn't matter if I eat more or less. When I go back, I'll just eat some snacks and drink a pot of tea. It's good for my health. Yuan Qianyao was obviously planning to eat a lot tonight and find an excuse to stay healthy. Yu Wenrong, we're eating and drinking well in the capital. I wonder how the people in the snowy regions are doing? If we can find a kind of food that can be grown in the snow, then… I'm still nurturing the seedlings. I can't delay. Everyone, I'll make a move first. See you at Savant's restaurant tonight. Without waiting for Yu Wenrong to finish speaking, Jiang Tsen cupped his fists and strode away, disappearing in front of everyone. Yu Wenrong was right. There were really people suffering in the snow. It wasn't because of their food, but because of their mentality. Hehe River had a long history. It was a village, but it was of a higher level than a village. It also shouldered the heavy responsibility of defending against foreign enemies and transmitting information. It was built next to the ferry, and the population had always been small. No one was willing to live here. In the past, there were only military households and not civilian households, and many of the military households had fled. With the birth of the imperial court's welfare benefits, Hehe River had a population of less than 60 households and less than 300 people. The reason for this situation was simple. Some people lived in the mountains and hunted for a living. They only opened up a few acres of land and could harvest some food, but not much. The soil was not good. There were also people who lived on boats, ate in the river, and used in the river. In the winter, they brought the boats ashore and cut ice to get water. Only when they needed to trade would they come to the pass and barter with the merchants who came over. Usually, they didn't register because they were afraid of paying rent and tribute, as well as working. When the imperial court's welfare policies caught up, they came over to register because there were subsidies. For example, the simplest salt was rationed according to the number of people's hair. Remote areas were free of charge. There were also daily medicines. There were no medical centers in the area, so they could only send the medicines over. Since medical treatment was free, there was no such thing as reselling. Finally, when there was a disaster, people who didn't live in Hehe River usually felt danger when they suddenly saw the weather change. They immediately remembered that they were from Hehe River, so the imperial court's disaster relief would definitely be managed according to a fixed location. The previously inaccurate data finally confirmed the number of people. There was probably no one on the mountain or by the river. If it wasn't accurate, it would mean that there were people who died and didn't report it. There were also newborns who were young and didn't register in time. They took a boat and went downstream. At this moment, Hehe Village, or rather Hehe River Jin, had just finished counting the number of people. There were 42 people under the age of 15. To be precise, they were under the age of 6. There was no one between the ages of 6 and 15. There were 15 people over the age of 60. The remaining 201 people made a total of 258 people. This is the most in the past few years, right? Huangfu Yechi, the Guan Jin of He River Jin, said to the person beside him after counting the number of people. The person beside him was Guan Jincheng. Like him, he had a compound surname. However, he wasn't Huangfu, but Xiahou. His name was Yi. Both of them were 9th-rank officials. One was a 9th-rank official, while the other was a 9th-rank official. One was 37 years old, while the other was 34 years old. Both of them had families and children. They didn't lack elderly people either, but they didn't live in Hehe River. The two of them had been here for 4 years. They would go back after 2 more years. No one was willing to stay in a poor place. Xiaohou nodded. That's a lot. The snow came so quickly. We have to thank Xiao Bei. Yes. Otherwise, even if they knew the weather was bad, it would be too late. They knew that Xiao Bei and the others would pass by a few days ago, so they ran over to welcome them. If someone didn't want to welcome them and didn't come over, they would probably freeze to death. In this remote place, 1 or 2 families can't survive this snow. Huangfu Yeqi was filled with emotions. The people of Yi River Jin deliberately brought their families to meet Xiao Bei and the others despite the hardships. They brought a lot of game and frozen freshwater fish to express their gratitude to Xiao Bao, Cuckoo, and the imperial court. Yes, those who aren't close to Xiao Bao, Cuckoo, and the imperial court will eventually suffer retribution. Who can save them? Who knows where they are? It's just that there are too many children here, so it's too noisy. Xiaohou was even more pious when faced with such a situation. He believed that this was fate. They clearly knew that Xiao Bei and the others were coming, but they still didn't come to Yi River Jin to wait respectfully. The snow was merciless. Who could help? Huangfu Yeqi took out a water bag and drank 2 mouthfuls. He praised, "Good wine. It's strong enough. It's a pity that there aren't any side dishes. I have some. Change." Xiaohou snatched the water bag and took out 2 handfuls of broad beans with fine salt. He let Huangfu Yeqi put them in his pocket. Huangfu Yeqi looked over in surprise. Xiaohou drank a mouthful of wine and explained, "A child gave it to me. He said that it was too hard to chew, so I gave him a piece of jerky." "You can chew it with jerky?" Huangfu Yeqi asked. Xiaohou smiled. "Who knows? It's still a lie. They're young, so they like to eat meat. Those over 6 years old have all been sent to other places to go to school. There are even younger ones sent out. They cry. They can't bear to part with them, but they have no choice. It's Yi River Jin's fault for not having a school. I don't know when Xiao Bei and the others will send people over. It should be soon. It snowed yesterday. I bet that the protection team will come in 3 days at most, no matter how difficult the road is. It's a merit for us to take care of the 258 people." Huangfu Yeqi's expression was relaxed. The people in Yi River Jin weren't worried either. With the resources in Yi River, it wouldn't be a problem to hold on for more than 10 days. Before that, the protection team would definitely come and deliver more things or lead everyone to leave. The firewood was burning, and the pot on the rack kept steaming. The food inside never stopped cooking. Whoever was hungry would scoop it out to eat. Everyone had packed their luggage. Huangfu Yeqi and Xiaohou had said that the wind at Yi River was strong, and the snow was flying everywhere. It had to be cleaned up, and it was difficult to guard. When the protection team arrived, there was a high possibility that they would lead everyone to leave. Since that was the case, they should prepare first. They shouldn't wait for them to come and pack up, which would be a waste of time. The snow was still falling. The sky seemed brighter at noon, but after noon, it gradually became gloomy again. Some people rested by the fire, and some people were not sleepy. They sat there and continued to wait. Their eyes were not empty, and they were not anxious. Instead, they were peaceful and expectant. They didn't believe that Xiao Bei and the others would give up on them. It was just like the conversation between a father and his daughter when he was baking a scallion pancake for his child. "Little darling, the pancake will be cooked soon. Eat it with the soup. Don't always run around. Eat more and have more strength. When the protection team comes, you can follow them. It's the vigorous protection team. Will Xiao Bei come back?" Little darling sniffled and waited for the pancake to be baked. She corrected her father's way of addressing her and asked with uncertainty. "Yes, it's the Zhuang sapling protection team. Little darling knows so much. Little Bei is making toys for little darling in a safe place. He won't come. Little darling will see when she goes over." The father knew that the rescue team could not include 9 children. Oh. Little Darling was a little regretful, but she immediately became happy again. Xiao Bei must have a lot of toys. Daddy, I heard from Big Mother that Little Darling has an uncle who also walked out in the snow when it was snowing. He froze to death. Why didn't he wait for Xiao Bei? A flash of sadness appeared in the father's eyes, but he was not sad. Perhaps it had been too long. He only said to his daughter, "My brother is 8 years older than me. 23 years ago, he was as old as your second brother, 19 years old. At that time, there was no Xiao Bei and no vigorous protection team. There was no hope if he couldn't wait." I can wait, can't I? Daddy, is hope the side of disappointment? Yes, Little Darling is so obedient. I don't want to be disappointed. Then you have to protect Xiao Bei and the protection team first. It's the vigorous protection team. I know that I'll die if I'm disappointed. I don't want to die. I'll protect Xiao Bei. Why aren't they coming? Little Darling, who did not completely understand what it meant to protect Xiao Bei, had a determined look in her eyes. Then, she became anxious. She was afraid of death. As if to fulfill her wish, a group of bright colors appeared on the ice and snow in front of the fairy as soon as she finished speaking. They were approaching very quickly. They're coming, they're coming. Look, that skis. Their clothes are so pretty. They're so colorful. Where are Xiao Bei and the rest? They've arrived in one day? Get up, get up. We'll leave immediately. Let them rest and drink some soup. As the protection team arrived, various voices appeared in the crowd. When they got closer, the crowd realized that the protection team had tired expressions on their faces. Their bodies were also covered in snow. All of them gathered at the shore and waited. There were more than 100 people in the protection team. When the leader saw that the people they were supposed to receive had already packed their things, he shouted happily, "Come, come with us. Leave now. Bring whatever you can bring. Leave the rest. If you don't leave now, the road will be blocked again." Huangfu Yeqi and Xiahou Yi looked at each other and quickly called out. They did not care about putting out the fire or the pot. They led the people, children, and the young and strong people to support the old people and spread out. They followed the protection team, who turned around and walked to the other side of the river. All of them paid attention to their feet. After an hour, the people finally knew why the protection team asked them to evacuate directly. In front of them was a valley between two mountains. Those who were familiar with the local situation knew that it was about 2 miles long. What they saw now was the wind blowing the snow down from above. The highest pile of snow in the valley was as high as 2 people's height. There was a road in the middle that had been cleared. Moreover, there were large piles of snow falling from time to time. Some members of the protection team waved their snow shovels and rushed in with something over their heads. They disappeared directly. Behind them there were people who rushed in. At the same time, they tried their best to push the snow to the side and step down. Occasionally, a pile of snow would suddenly spread to the sides, revealing the heads of the people who had rushed in before. Then, there would be people who helped to lower and compress it. They were cutting a road in the snow. "When we pass, don't make a sound. Leave the children to us." The leader of the protection team gave the order and passed it down. The people became nervous and nodded one after another. The children went first. Each child was carried by a member of the protection team. There was also a backup at the side. Oxygen masks connected to oxygen tanks were ready. 20 minutes passed. There was only one time when it was more dangerous. A large pile of snow fell from above. A member of the protection team and a person who was buried together went back and forth using an oxygen mask. They were dug out after a few minutes. As for the cold, how could they care about it? After passing through the most difficult valley, the road ahead was easy to walk. The snowmobiles were still parked outside and were not used. Huangfu Yeqi let out a long breath and looked back. He still had a lingering fear. The 2 miles of the valley was covered in snow. It was really a separation between life and death. He did not know how long the protection team had dug. After walking for more than 10 miles in the snow, everyone felt relieved. There were more than 100 members of the protection team waiting in front. They took the children and sped up. Every 10 miles they advanced, there would definitely be a wave of reinforcements, which made them feel very relaxed. After 5 times, the people of Hehe River met up with the main group. Some were crying, some were laughing, and some were crying for Xiaobei everywhere. After receiving these people, Xiaobei and the others were finally not worried anymore. The rest was to wait. There was no need to worry about supplies. The snow could not keep falling. Besides planes, there were also groups of eagles or a sleigh team sent from Feng province. Chapter 8. The private room on the 3rd floor of Between the Clouds and the Water was very spacious. There were 3 large tables and plenty of space. Feng Yushan sat at a table close to the window. From the floor-to-ceiling glass, he could clearly see the houses in the distance, the snow on the houses, and the gray sky. If he wasn't the provincial governor of Yin Province, Feng Yushan would be very willing to warm up the wine and chat with a few friends in such an environment. But obviously, he didn't dare to do so. Even thinking about it made him afraid. He came to the banquet because he was worried that something had happened to the rich merchants in Yin Province. To be precise, something had happened to the merchants in Rulin County. As the administrative center of the province, Rulin County was both the county office and the office of the provincial office. It was considered the political and economic center of Yin Province, and a place where merchants liked to gather. The county magistrate of Rulin County didn't come because his position wasn't high enough. He was very sad. He belonged to the legendary category of people who didn't do good in their previous lives. There was a saying, evil in the previous life, evil in this life, evil in the past, evil in the past, evil in the present, evil in the past, 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 evil in the provincial capital. For example, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were once city officials in the provincial capital. Originally, they should have been the most powerful in the city, but the provincial and provincial governments also had offices there. As the highest official in Yin Province, Feng Yushan had a good life. Seeing the stern faces of the merchants today, he couldn't help but feel uneasy. He thought, is there nothing to sell? While Feng Yushan was thinking, the dishes were served. There was a plate of tofu, a plate of cold pork rind, a big pot of cabbage, stewed pork belly with vermicelli, a plate of pig intestines, a plate of bean sprouts mixed with tofu, a plate of stir-fried tenderloin with mushrooms, a plate of steamed pork knuckle, and a pile of bones with meat. Even if there were 8 dishes, there was no abalone, shark fin, sea cucumber, bear paw, venison, and so on. Feng Yushan let out a long breath. He was really afraid that if the merchants ordered those dishes, he would immediately get up and leave. Otherwise, if a provincial governor went to Between the Clouds and the Water to eat that during a disaster, he would be tired of living. Even so, Feng Yushan was very careful when he looked at the waiter. He kept saying, "There's too much, I can't finish it." "Provincial governor, you don't have to be so courteous with us. Today's dishes and wine will not be paid for by the province. In a while, there will be pork trotter's soup. 8 dishes and 1 soup. It's not much." "Look, there are 12 people at the table. We can all finish it," a person sitting next to Feng Yushan said enthusiastically. Feng Yushan recognized him. He was the president of the Silver State Chamber of Commerce, Mi Tsongman. It was a name that could express happiness. Other than him, there were also 2 vice presidents, Qi Miao and Du Yao, as well as a group of directors. All of them were outstanding talents in various industries in the Yin province. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that the Yin province's commodities were under their control. Feng Yushan glanced at the snow that was still falling outside the window and swept her gaze over the steaming hot dishes on the table. She said, "I don't think wine is necessary, right?" "Of course, Lord Feng. No matter what, you have to drink with us today. It's a very important matter." Mi Tsongman continued to persuade with a smile. The waiter brought in a container to warm the wine. The strong aroma of the white wine assailed the nostrils. Frequent drinkers could tell that this wine was at least 50% alcohol by just smelling it. Qi Miao immediately received the waiter and poured the wine into the 3-chien cup in front of Feng Yushan. He stopped when it was full and poured it for someone else. Lord Feng, we are very grateful that you have honored us with your presence today. Come, come, come. With such a snowy scene, let's toast. Mi Tsongman picked up his wine and stood up to toast Feng Yushan. Without waiting for him to speak, he raised his head and downed the entire cup. He slowly exhaled and praised, "Good wine." The others followed suit. Seeing this, Feng Yushan could only pick up the wine cup and lightly sip it. About a chien worth of wine entered his mouth. He lightly smacked his lips twice and savored the aftertaste. He nodded and admitted that it was good wine. Mi Tsongman hurriedly filled up the wine cup for the provincial governor and recommended the dishes. "Lord, please eat. I like to eat the big bones between the clouds and the water the most. It's better than the meat. I didn't know why before, but after thinking about it, maybe it's because of the hard work of the meat." As he spoke, he picked up a big bone and took a few bites, rubbing off the oil in his mouth. The others also picked up a bone and ate it, not paying attention to the other dishes. Feng Yushan wondered if the bones were really delicious. He stretched out his chopsticks and picked up a rib that looked easy to remove. He tore it with his teeth and put it into his mouth. After chewing slightly, his brows furrowed. Bones between the clouds and the water? If the bones between the clouds and the water were cooked to this taste, then it wouldn't be called between the clouds and the water. Other than salt, there seems to be nothing else, and it's not cooked yet. Look at the white foam on the bones, it probably hasn't even been heated once. Feng Yushan was very surprised. He didn't believe that the dishes between the clouds and the water would taste like this. With doubts, Feng Yushan picked up other dishes. After that, he was satisfied. The other 7 dishes tasted good, as expected of between the clouds and the water, a well-known signature dish. Feng Yushan put down his chopsticks and picked up the wine cup. He looked at Mi Tsongman. Mi Tsongman was gritting his teeth, looking pained. When he saw the provincial governor looking over, he showed an embarrassed look. He grabbed the wine cup with his oily hand and said, "Lord, drink." Feng Yushan drank another mouthful and began to look around. Everyone seemed to be in pain and asked, "Not good?" "Lord, it's stuffed. I said before that cooking a big pot is different from cooking a small pot, but they didn't believe me. Sure enough, after cooking for a while, it's still not cooked." Vice President Du Yao complained. "Cook again." Mi Tsongman scratched his teeth with his hand and blurted out 2 words. Feng Yushan was at a loss. He picked up the toothpick box on the table and pushed it over, asking, "You put in the salt too early, right?" "Yes." Mi Tsongman clapped his hands and said, "It's true. It said that you should put in the salt after cooking the bones. Moreover, the bones should be cracked open as much as possible so that the meat will rot faster. Lord, you're amazing. I salute you." Feng Yushan picked up the wine cup and drank again. He wanted to see what this group of people wanted from him. Mi Tsongman breathed out a mouthful of wine and smiled at Feng Yushan. "Lord, I won't hide it from you. I invited you here today because I have something to discuss with you." "Well said, well said." Feng Yushan smiled in response. "Lord, I'm sure you know that it's snowing heavily in Yin province. The flat areas are almost waist deep and the thicker areas are as tall as a person. We had a meeting last night and decided to discuss with you whether or not we don't need to open Chongping warehouse in Yin province." Mi Tsongman filled Feng Yushan's cup with wine as he spoke. As soon as he finished speaking, he raised the cup and toasted again. Feng Yushan was stunned. Then, his face filled with anger and his eyes widened. But after a while, he put on a smile. It wasn't a cold smile, but a very relaxed one. He leaned back on the chair and raised the cup to his mouth. He raised his head and drank it all. He closed his eyes and savored the aftertaste. After a while, Feng Yushan opened his eyes and said with a smile, "Good wine, let's all drink." "Drink, drink." Everyone obeyed. Boss Mi, President Mi, Fong Yushan spoke to me, Tsongman, politely. And all the presidents and directors, it's not that I don't want to give you face, but you've gone too far. It's snowing heavily in Yin province. If you don't let the government open the warehouse, I won't say whether the troops stationed in Yin province can raid your houses. I'll just say that even if you arrange for manpower in the army, how much money do you think you can make? How long can you block the news when you're making a fortune? Then, where will you run with the money? How long will it take for Xiao Bei and the others to find out? How long will it take to catch up with you? Eat. Fong Yushan stopped talking and began to pick up the food. This time, it was the merchants' turn to be stunned. They looked at each other and smiled. Vice President Qi Miao raised the cup. Lord, I toast you. You're a good official. Fong Yushan didn't move. Qi Miao drank the wine and refilled the cup. He held it in his hand again. Lord, Xiaobei's protection team is in Yin province. If they know that there are merchants in Rulin County who have made a fortune, they'll send a vanguard team over in 3 days at most. It's only about 260 kilometers from where they said they were stationed to Rulin County. Although the snow has sealed off the road, they will definitely arrive within 3 days. If they had sent the small group of elites to protect them, before this time tomorrow, our heads will definitely fall to the ground. Xiao Bei and the others, who have the intention to kill, will not let us live for more than 24 hours. We have never doubted that they have the ability to do so. After he finished speaking, he finished the wine. Oh, afraid? Fong Yushan asked with a smile. He still didn't drink. Afraid? If you don't do anything wrong, you won't be afraid of ghosts knocking on your door. Qi Miao was still pouring wine and holding it. Lord, you misunderstood. It's our fault that we didn't explain clearly. Yes, it's our fault. Mi Tsongman followed. The others echoed. Qi Miao continued, Darren should know that there is only grain in Chongping warehouse in Yin province, unlike in the capital. There is meat, oil, cloth, and other miscellaneous things that have been frozen for a long time. Therefore, there is not much use for you to open Chongping warehouse. As for us, although we're cheap merchants, we know that we have to do our best at crucial times. Everyone knows that the heavens are heartless. As for us in the Chamber of Commerce, we've never counted on the heavens. What does the heavens have to do with us? It's said that there's a way to go against the heavens. Therefore, we've decided to try. Lord, you know that every time there's a disaster, the people in the affected areas suffer. Our Chamber of Commerce thinks, why? Because the heavens are angry? Bah! So what if the heavens are angry? The people in Kagwang County were still taken away by Xiao Bei. I don't know what's going on over there, but I believe that they'll be fine. Xiao Bei will settle them down. Normally, our Chamber of Commerce is very idle. Now that we have something to do, we'll go against the heavens. Thus, we came to discuss with you. We won't open Chongping warehouse, but we'll take care of the remaining 3 counties in Yin province. You should be able to see that most of the dishes on the table are pork. Director Ding Yi is the largest supplier of pigs in the province. Apart from Kagwang County, he has breeding bases in the other 3 counties. He's already sent a telegram for the other 2 counties to cooperate with the slaughter of pigs. Starting tomorrow morning, pork bone soup will be provided for free. At the same time, the price of each cut of pork will be reduced by 1 copper coin. Ding Yi stood up and cupped his fists at Fong Yushan. Qi Miao continued, My family sells vegetable oil. Starting tomorrow, soybean oil will be reduced by 1 copper coin. Vice President Du's family sells grain. Every bushel of rice will be reduced by 2 copper coins. A bag of 10 caddies of flour will be reduced by 3 copper coins. The President's family sells fine cotton and ready-made clothes. Starting tomorrow morning, cotton cloth will be reduced by 2 copper coins. Ready-made clothes will be given a 50% discount. As for the other industries managed by the directors, apart from luxury goods, starting tomorrow, the prices of Yin Province's 3 counties will be reduced. At the same time, starting tomorrow, until the roads are reopened, there will be free steamed buns, porridge, soup, pancakes, and other breakfasts every morning. There will be free bone soup at noon. Every night, the villagers can participate in barbecue parties and watch programs. Of course, during the day, they have to work to repair the damaged houses in the 3 counties as soon as possible and clear the snow. We'll have to trouble my lord to arrange everything. The people from the Chamber of Commerce just want to let the heavens see a festive province, let them see the cheerful faces of the children, and let them see how warm the hearts of people are in the cold snow. My lord, please. Chi Miao drank another cup of wine and praised, "It's delicious." At this time, Feng Yushan's face was full of shock. As he listened to Chi Miao, his eyes swept across the faces of the merchants. When Chi Miao finished drinking, he hurriedly stood up and cupped his hands to the people around him. He picked up the small wine pot and didn't pour it into the wine cup. He said to the crowd, "Everyone, you are all good people. This official was wrong. This official is deeply ashamed. I respect all of you. You are all loyal soldiers of the Yin province, the backbone of the great Tang. Cheers." The wine pot in front of him was 4 taels. He drank a little just now, so there was still more than 3 taels left. He drank all of it in one breath. It was much more satisfying than the small wine cup of 3 taels. Cheers. Everyone raised their cups at the same time. My lord, eat the vegetables and suppress the wine. Mi Tsong hurriedly urged. Feng Yushan threw down his chopsticks and grabbed a pig bone. He bit into it and began to tear it off. He nodded as he ate, vaguely saying that it was delicious. In fact, the bone was not fully cooked because there was only a little salt. There was even foam on it, but Feng Yushan thought that this was the most delicious thing. He believed that from tomorrow onwards, all the people of Yin province would praise this bone. He never thought that today would be like this. He didn't even dare to think about it. He only thought that because of the heavy snow, he needed to open the Chongping warehouse to release grain to suppress the sudden surge in grain prices. As long as there was food, the people would be able to persevere. He considered that if the prices of various goods were too high, he would ask the people of the Chamber of Commerce, "Do you want to provoke Xiaobao? Do you plan to go bankrupt after making a profit?" He thought that this could scare the people of the Chamber of Commerce and keep the prices of Yin province within a certain range. It would be fine after the roads were cleared. A large amount of relief materials would flood in and the prices would not go up anymore. But from now on, Feng Yushan felt that he didn't need to think about scaring anyone with Xiaobao anymore. He just needed to go back to the yamen and start to mobilize the people to work together. Then, he would cooperate with the people of the Chamber of Commerce to mobilize various materials. After that, he would write a letter of commendation and send it to the imperial court. He just needed to tell the truth. This was the merchant of Yin province. This was the merchant of Yin province during the snow disaster. The people of Yin province would definitely be shocked tomorrow. They would never think that during the snow disaster, not only did the prices of Yin province not go up, but they also went down. There was free food in the morning, at noon, and at night, as well as entertainment. Under the pressure of the heavens, the adults would not despair, the elderly were still kind, and the children were still so happy. No, they shouldn't think like that. It should be that the adults had more hope for the future, the elderly were more kind, and the children were happier. But the meat on the bones did not rot. Feng Yushan, who had stuffed his mouth to his teeth, used his hand to scratch a few times and said to the people around him, "You have to continue cooking. It's best to add some coriander and chopped green onions on top of the soup." "You're right, sir. We will also prepare pepper and ginger. If you need it, add it yourself to dispel the cold." Mi Tsongman added. Feng Yushan nodded satisfactorily. "Very good, very thoughtful. When I go back, I will write a memorial and submit it to the imperial court. We have to send the news first so that the imperial court does not need to worry and can better allocate the materials. Tell me your names later." "Thank you, sir." Mi Tsongman smiled. "We think so too. We hope that the imperial court will praise us in the newspapers." "Yes, yes." Feng Yushan was certain. Thus, the host and guests enjoyed themselves and finished all the dishes on the table. Everyone went downstairs and went back to arrange things. The protection team, who were still camping by the Yellow River, was busy. They needed to circle the airdrop location. It was a very large area, and there was also an obvious thick line made by piling up tree branches. Someone was there to clear the falling snow from time to time to give the people in the sky a different visual difference from other places. Once the line was crossed, the airdrop could be dropped. There was no need to be accurate within a few dozen meters. The people of Hihijin soon got along well with the people of Kagwang County. The adults found things to do when they were not tired. The children went to rest after bathing. Even Nan Nan, who had always wanted to play with Xiao Bei, did not have the energy. She lay on the mattress, curled herself into a ball and fell asleep very quickly. "I'm sleeping too. Wake me up when the plane arrives." Xiao Bei, who had been worried and busy the whole morning, could not take it anymore. He took off his coat, wore a sweater, and got into bed. He covered his head and went to sleep. Everyone sleep, everyone sleep. Xiao Yuan was not in the mood to wait. He estimated that the plane would only arrive after a while. He learned from Xiao Bei and slept with his clothes on. Xiao Yuan and the rest did not force themselves to stay awake. One by one, they went to find a place to rest. The people of the seedling protection team were still doing things according to their usual training. Some of them were completely relaxed, some of them were taking a nap, some of them were doing light work, and some of them were busy. With such adjustments, they could maintain a portion of them at their peak condition at any time and throw themselves into an emergency situation. It was the most common Level 3 combat readiness. The current heavy snow was not worth the seedling protection team being in a state of Level 1 combat readiness. Therefore, they were very relaxed. The open and hidden sentries changed every hour. The kitchen provided food 24 hours a day. It was all too common for the seedling protection team to repair the tents and clear the snow. However, in the eyes of the people of Kagwang County and Hihijin, the seedling protection team was now in a very tense state. The people of the seedling protection team were busy all the time. The hidden sentries hid themselves under the snow, the open sentries stood motionless, and the mobile sentries made squeaking sounds as they moved through the snow. There were also medical personnel checking the bodies of the people like themselves. Some people brought the children to class. The chefs who cooked would come every once in a while to ask if they were hungry and what they wanted to eat. There were also people doing fire prevention, moisture prevention, and collapse prevention checks. It was really too busy. It would tire them out. Some people could not stand it anymore. They thought that the seedling protection team was working so hard for them. Therefore, they found Sun Mao and discussed with him whether they should arrange more work for them so that the seedling protection team would not tire themselves out. Sun Mao really went to find someone to talk to. In the end, when he came back, he was full of smiles. He waved at more than 10 people who were the most worried and led them out. The 15 people who followed Sun Mao were puzzled. They came to the outside of a tent with Sun Mao and watched as Sun Mao gently lifted the curtain of the tent and gestured for them to take a look. One by one, they gathered there like thieves. There were a total of 10 beds in the tent. Each bed had a person sleeping in a different position. There were guns at the head of the bed, and there were also folded and taken off clothes. Through the gap, there was no smell of sweat or mud, nor was there any smell of feet. Instead, there was a faint floral fragrance. It gave people the feeling that the tent was clean and tidy. The seedling protection team members slept comfortably and peacefully. After the 15 people had taken a look, Sun Mao led them through the tents one by one. These were all the people who were resting. After walking through dozens of tents, Sun Mao stopped and said to the people who followed him, "See? There are still many people sleeping. Follow me and take a look." Sun Mao went through a few more rows of tents and lifted the curtain for them to take a look. The people inside were also sleeping, but they did not take off their clothes. Furthermore, they were holding guns. As if sensing that someone was looking in, the people facing the curtain opened their eyes and looked over. They smiled and narrowed their eyes again. After looking through more than a dozen tents, Sun Mao said, "They're not busy. Follow me." The 15 people continued to follow him. This time, they could already hear voices outside the tent. Some people were singing softly, some were telling jokes, and some were reciting something under their breaths. Just as Sun Mao was about to open a gap, the person inside spoke. "I'm going to take a walk outside and see if there's anything. When I come back, take out the chess pieces if you want to play." When the voice came, the curtain was lifted from the inside. A person holding a notebook and a pen walked out. When he saw Sun Mao and the others, he was stunned at first. Then he said, "County Magistrate Sun, are you here to play chess?" "No, I'm just looking. I'm curious," Sun Mao quickly replied. Look around. If there's anything you don't understand, come and ask. Everyone has nothing to do. Remember not to bring open flames into the tents. Some of them have firearms and oil. If we're not careful, we'll all be in the sky." After saying this, the person walked away. The 15 people following Sun Mao fell silent. After a while, Huangfu Yexian, the Guanjin of Hehajin, muttered to Xiahou Yi, who was beside him, so they didn't take it seriously. "I thought that they would be very nervous and tired in such heavy snow. Who would have thought that I was wrong? Isn't that so? If it wasn't for the fact that it's still snowing, and that we've walked so far, I would have thought that we were on a... what was it again? Oh, a vacation. It looks like a vacation. But look at the intensity of their patrolling. It's even more intense than the other regular local troops we've seen before. What a contrast." Xiahou Yi frowned and said in puzzlement. Sun Mao, who was beside him, interjected, "What else could it be? They're strong." The low-intensity arrangement of the protection team is the high-intensity arrangement of the other local troops. Someone once told me that the people of the protection team are very efficient. The individual quality of the soldiers is strong, and the teamwork is good. Everyone in the team knows how to plan. They don't just listen to the orders of the higher-ups. Each of them knows the overall goal of the team, followed by the battalion goal, and then the team goal. They will adjust when they do their own things to cooperate with the work of others. For example, when there are 10 people in a team, and 2 people suddenly leave, the other 8 people will adjust on their own and share the work of the 2 people who left. When they will return to their original positions. They don't have to wait for the leader to find out about the situation and think of a way to arrange the order. In other words, each of them knows the strategic intention and the tactical arrangement. They can assist other people at any time. They can also become the command center in an instant. If there's an emergency and the overall formation is disrupted, they will immediately form a new formation. Huangfu Yexian finished the sentence in surprise. Doesn't that mean that each of them has the commanding ability of a battalion commander and above? Xiahou Yi was also surprised. Shouldn't they? Sun Mao asked with a smile. He continued, "How dare they join the protection team if they don't have some ability? Someone told me that they are not just pure combatants. They can form the framework of a country. We all know that the protection team is the most powerful team in the Tang Empire. It's just that we haven't understood it in detail before. The people don't have the idea of knowing everything about the protection team. They only need to know that they are omnipotent, right?" Xiahou Yi nodded. "Yes, now that you mention it, I really feel that way. After thinking about it carefully, I realized that the protection team is actually the most familiar and the most mysterious team. Familiar because we know that the protection team is the most solid support. Mysterious because we don't know how they operate internally. Thinking about it, I feel that it's very interesting. Don't you guys wonder? Why is that so?" As soon as he said that, everyone fell into deep thought. It was really like what he said. The protection team seemed to be around everyone. When children played war games, there would always be people who would rush to play the role of the protection team. However, no child had specifically thought about understanding the specific division of labor of the protection team. Every child had their own understanding of the protection team. However, no one had specifically asked about how the protection team was like. The internal operation and coordination method of the protection team was actually selectively forgotten by everyone just like that. It was unbelievable. What went wrong? When everyone was thinking about it, some people suddenly felt cold all over, as if their thoughts were being controlled by someone to make them forget some things. No, that's not right. A voice suddenly sounded behind everyone. Everyone was startled and could not help but turn around to look. Su Ilong was here. He could not sleep. Coincidentally, there were a few questions that he did not know how to answer. He planned to come over and learn from the person who came up with the strategy in the protection team, so he strolled over here. The person who could come up with strategies in the protection team was not bad at all. Sun Mao heaved a sigh of relief and introduced, "He's Su Ilong. His grandfather has a very high position in Jixian Courtyard. He told me a lot of things before. He's a few years older than Xiaobei and the rest. He follows Xiaobei and the rest, accompanying them to play and learning at the same time." Oh. Everyone expressed that they understood. Su Ilong was not in a hurry to find someone to ask questions. Instead, he said to everyone, "Your perspective is wrong. The protection team has never been mysterious. It's just that many people are not willing to waste time to understand it. In everyone's eyes, the protection team is not a combat team. It's a sublimated stability and happiness. It's an umbrella in the rain and snow, a shade under the scorching sun. Wherever the protection team appears, everyone can sleep in peace, eat in peace, and not be afraid of anything. Think about it carefully. What is this? This is home, and this is parents. It can be said that most people are familiar with their own father or mother. However, how many people specifically conduct a rational analysis of their parents' psychology and behavior? Many children imitate their parents when they play house, but who can completely reflect their parents' actions and psychology? Everyone, think about it carefully. Do you really understand your parents? Anyway, I can't. Every time I want to make a record, fill in the form of my father's or mother's behavior, and then apply behavioral psychology, I feel very awkward. It makes me feel unfamiliar with my parents. I feel disgusted and resist it from the bottom of my heart. It's the same for the protection team. It's not that everyone can't understand, but they're not willing to. Subconsciously, they make us refuse to analyze and dissect the details of the protection team. We're more willing to think that the protection team is the closest to us. It's the strongest. It's my support and my shelter. Others can't scold the protection team, and others can't belittle the protection team. Otherwise, it's insulting me, just like who scolds my parents. Understand? It's a very simple principle. You guys continue with your work. I'm going to ask a few questions. Su Ilong analyzed, waved at Sun Mao and the rest, and went into the tent. Sun Mao and the rest looked at each other. He's indeed knowledgeable. Huangfu Yeshio sighed. He's right. After thinking about it, it's really like that. Haha. Xiahou Yi no longer felt afraid. So the protection team has always been in this position in my heart? Sun Mao rubbed his hands. The rest nodded. It seemed that it was really simple. When facing the protection team, they already treated themselves as children. However, this was not shameful. The protection team was very good as a parent and had never disappointed them. It was just like how they did not feel the slightest bit of fear even though the snow was still falling. Do you still want to continue watching? Sun Mao asked. Everyone thought about it and shook their heads. There was nothing to watch. It was fine as long as they knew that the protection team was not tired. Why don't we go to the kitchen and take a look? What are we eating tonight? Xiahou Yi suggested. Sun Mao agreed. That works too. It'll be good if we can have braised pork ribs. The last time we had braised pork ribs was a month ago. How can what you eat be the same as what the protection team eats? Huangfu Yeshio teased. A person from Kagwang County laughed and said, It's the same. The Zhang family and Wang family sent people to our county to help us get rich. There's a chef among them. What do you think? Why don't I have one? Huangfu Yeshio asked enviously. Because you didn't send a telegram, another person from Kagwang County replied with a smile. Huangfu Yeshio looked at Sun Mao and asked, They'll come if we send a telegram? Of course. How can parents not care when their children are saved? At that time, I sent a telegram at the end of the first year. They came at the beginning of the second year. It looked like they were going to have a good life. However, a heavy snow came and all the livestock and poultry were brought here. We'll just give them to the protection team. When we come back, we'll be familiar with them. It's simple. Sun Mao seemed to be comforting himself, but also seemed to be saying it for the people from Kagwang County to hear. The people from Kagwang County felt that it was a pity. However, when they thought about how they were alive and already knew how to raise livestock, it was fine to spend a little more effort. Everyone went around in circles as they talked. They were almost confused. After asking a few people on guard duty, they finally found a place to cook. There were more than 20 big stoves. There were a few fires that were not extinguished. There were pots on them. Some were boiling water, while others were boiling soup. At the side, there were a few people dissecting freshly slaughtered pigs. A few cooks sat at the table under the shed and ate. It looked like there was wine too. Sun Mao and the others arrived. Before they could say anything, a cook at the table stood up and greeted them warmly. "County Magistrate's son, you're here? I was just about to send someone to look for you. Come over here and sign the contract." As he spoke, the cook pulled Sun Mao to the table. A stack of papers was placed on the table. Sun Mao did not look at them. He asked in confusion, "What contract?" "A sales contract. Kagwang County brought a lot of live poultry and livestock. We'll buy them. There are two parts. One is the adult livestock and poultry. We'll pay directly. The other part is the cubs. I don't think they can be brought back alive. We'll kill them too. When the snow stops, we'll give you more cubs. You can continue to raise them. Just treat it as selling a batch of poultry and livestock." As the cook spoke, he passed a pen to Sun Mao for him to sign. There was also ink for his fingerprint or the county magistrate's seal. Sun Mao tried to hide. "No, no, no. I'm not selling. I'm giving it to the protection team. How can I take this money? How are you trying to trap me?" The other people from Kagwang County nodded vigorously in support of the county magistrate. Huangfu Yetsue and Xiahou Yi also felt that they should not take money. They ate and stayed in the other party's tent. Furthermore, the other party was the one who saved them. How could they accept money? They would be criticized behind their backs. "What?" The cook glared at Sun Mao. "It's not us who bought it. According to the imperial court's policy, the losses of the people in the affected areas are borne by the imperial court. After the disaster, the people there can continue to develop. Compared to the compensation paid by the Tang Empire, the people who can continue to develop steadily will create more wealth. It's not pity, it's to better maintain the speed of economic growth." Another cook chimed in. "Your Kagwang County suffered a disaster. If there was no rescue, people would have died. Now, it's the livestock and poultry that were lost. If we compensate you with money, you can buy daily necessities and compensate your cubs and poultry seedlings. You won't have idle labor to waste. Our protection team is eating for free because this portion of livestock and poultry is calculated according to the loss, and not according to the loss. It's our own account." Huangfu Yetsue seemed to understand. He asked, "Are you saying that the protection team is falsifying the accounts to cheat the imperial court? How is it false? It's really impossible to bring the livestock and poultry out alive. Even if the snow stops, the roads are difficult to get through. When the people of Kagwang County go back, they have to rebuild their houses. How can they take care of them? Therefore, losses are inevitable. It's just that we eat them, not throw them into the snow to freeze. For example, if we didn't bring the livestock and poultry out and left them in the county, wouldn't they all freeze to death now? We should compensate them, right? When we go back, won't the people in the county take out the frozen ones to eat?" The cook explained. Huangfu Yetsue felt that it made sense. He replied, "Now that you mention it, it seems to be true. That's right. We even took advantage of them. Otherwise, the Kagwang County would eat the food themselves. Then they would get a subsidy. The cook explained further. Is it the same? Xiaohui felt that something was wrong. Sun Mao also felt the same. After thinking for a while, he said, "Didn't we eat at your place too? And you even treat us." County Magistrate Sun, you haven't changed your mind. Seeing a doctor has always been free, right? The cook asked. Sun Mao nodded. The cook continued, "Look, seeing a doctor is the policy of the Tang Empire. It's not that we have to pay extra. Next is the food. Normally, when we pass by Kagwang County, you take out the food for us to eat. Then, we will leave something for you. Usually, the value of the food is higher than what you give us. This is the normal behavior of the Seedling Protection Team, right?" That's true. The people of the Tang Empire all know that when you pass by, the people treat you to food and you leave something behind. Everyone will treat it as a gathering and then take advantage of you. But, the livestock are not given to you by us. It's the country's subsidy. Now, you are giving it to us for free. Sun Mao emphasized. How is it for free? If the livestock are not brought out, they will freeze to death. Then, you can eat them when you go back. What we are eating now is what you should eat. Aren't the frozen livestock given to us by you? Will the imperial court accept your frozen livestock? The cook argued back and forth. Sun Mao frowned. But if the imperial court doesn't accept the frozen livestock, they will definitely give us a discount and then deduct it from the subsidy. That's because we eat meat to improve our standard of living. The imperial court was like this in the past. But your livestock were eaten by us. You didn't eat it yourself. Of course, the imperial court will subsidize you. The cook said. Huang Fu Yechi added, "Doesn't that mean that the Seedling Protection Team is taking advantage of you? The imperial court fully subsidizes, but you ate the food. Kagwang County didn't lose anything. What about you? Didn't we also provide food to the people of Kagwang County? It's the same as before. How are we taking advantage of you?" The cook explained. "No, there's something wrong here. I keep feeling that something is missing. Let me think, what's missing?" Huang Fu Yechi was in pain. He pulled at his hair and thought hard. At this time, Su Ilong wandered over. She was hungry and wanted to bake a pastry with chili sauce. Coincidentally, she wandered into this kitchen and didn't go to other kitchens. It was a coincidence. He also happened to hear what Huang Fu Yechi and the cook were talking about. He smiled and helped. Don't count. The Seedling Protection Team actually ate the Imperial Court's food. It's not a big deal because the Seedling Protection Team paid for it. Many officials know that the Imperial Court won't give a single cent to the Zhang family and Wang family, no matter how much money Zhang family and Wang family paid. They make their own official robes, give their own salaries, and supplement their own benefits. They can even make their own official seals. That's why Xiaobei's clothes are always overdone. Of course, the prefectural soldiers are even more overdone. It's just that no one cares. Then my Kagwang County can't take money. Sun Mao couldn't accept it. The cook said, "Are you stupid? This money isn't from my family, it's from the Imperial Court. Although the Imperial Court doesn't give my family money, a part of my family's money belongs to the Imperial Court. To be precise, it's 2 parts. One part is provided by Xiaobei and the rest for the Tang Dynasty's children, in exchange for tax benefits. The other part is provided by my family for the other citizens, in exchange for the rights to manage the tourist sites given by the Imperial Court. My family won't use this money. It's for you. If you don't take it from us, we'll hand it over to the Imperial Court and the Imperial Court will give it to you. What's the point? Is there?" Huang Fu Yechi, Xiaohui, and Sun Mao asked Su Ilong together. Su Ilong proved, yes, but Zhang family and Wang family always suffer losses when they exchange with the Imperial Court. They always take out a portion of their money to subsidize the citizens. In the past, it was in the name of the Imperial Court, but now it doesn't matter. Don't think about this. Just use it. Cultivate well and speed up the county's economic development. Let every family live a good life. With more money, more taxes will be paid. Brother Xiao Bao and Sister Cuckoo don't care about that bit of money. There are other people who donate. They take care of it and don't give the imperial court any income. All right. Sun Mao was very touched. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo really lost a lot. They also got it. Not everyone can make every family in the Tang Dynasty set up a longevity tablet. No one dares to think so, Su Yilong said enviously. Of course. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo can't be lost, Sun Mao said. Sign. The chef pushed the contract over. It was the imperial court's disaster subsidy. It's too expensive. Sun Mao objected once he saw it. It's not expensive. There's also the cost of building houses and roads. It's a premium. We won't give you any other subsidies, the chef explained. Sun Mao said, "Oh," and picked up the pen to sign. He took out an official seal from his chest and stamped it. He took a stack of notes. When he returned, he would distribute them from family to family. He didn't dare to keep any for himself. Su Yilong got a flatbread. She spread chili sauce on it and roasted it on the fire. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.